Alberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
2nd and 10, look out. And is that going to be a fumble, which is taken by Barton in the air? There's no whistle yet. And Barton, what a night this guy's having. Jaquan McMillan.
Force 1440. And the Oilers Nation YouTube channel.
He drops his ball. Deep left center field. It goes in. A 2-1 loss.
What a wonderful Monday afternoon. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook and X. Also listening live at sports1440.ca. Maybe you're on the app, driving around the city, the province, the country. Thanks for listening. Wherever you're at, we appreciate it. And it is that time of year. We have 4-hour show. I'm not even sure we have time to get to everything. There's so much to discuss. The Oilers, who would have thought after 6 games and all the changes on defense that their problem is offense? Because make no mistake, it's offense right now, or more importantly, a lack thereof. 4 losses, 4 goals. You don't like the goal Stuart Skinner allowed to Duchesne late in the second? Valid point. We'll talk to it in detail with Kevin Woodley, and it's fair. However, you're not scoring goals. Your power play is near the bottom of the NHL. They got 1 goal. Stuart Skinner's not on the power play. He's got 1 goal. If you think your goalie has to make every save because your high-powered offense can't score, I don't think that's great. It's your job to score goals. They're not scoring any goals. Their power play, it's not only they're not scoring, their power play barely gains any momentum in the games. David, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins, Bouchard, Arvidsson. Go down the list of guys who, I know that Draisaitl scored. He's got 3 goals, great. But look at the time of that goal against Dallas. The game's over. Right? You give yourself a sliver of hope to think that maybe you're going to have some miracle comeback. Well, this wasn't game 3 of the 1997 playoffs against the Dallas Stars. Okay, those type of comebacks, they don't happen very often. And it wasn't going to happen that day. Now, symbolic of the game, right after his 3-1 and right before the empty net goal, Jeff Skinner in tight, has a great chance, can't get it up. Now, you saw Skinner's frustration. He knew it. He knew it. Get the puck up. I'm not sure Ottinger had to make a glove save the entire game. I don't know if the Oilers got a shot above his pads. So you got to make some better shots for sure. And hey, give Ottinger credit. Like, look at their defensive structure in Dallas. Pretty good. But the Oilers were all over them. And so you can sit here and tell me that, yes, the Oilers they're out shooting teams, and that's fantastic. And it's all true. It's very true. However, they're not scoring. So if you say the goalie's got to make a save or two, can't you say the scorer's got to score here or there? Unless the goalie's supposed to be perfect every game. I don't think so. So we'll talk about that. Draisaitl, McDavid will center their own lines tomorrow night. Draisaitl back, just like they started the season with Arvidsson and Skinner. McDavid's with Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins. Now, there was some juggling in the bottom 6. You had Derek Ryan skating with Henrique and Brown today. Brown playing the left wing, and then you had Podkolzin and Janmark and Perry. I don't see Matthias Janmark playing center. He hasn't played center, I think, since his first year in the league in Dallas. So could he do it? Sure. Would you do it? I'd be surprised. Podkolzin, I thought, had maybe his best game of the season. So you can play him with Brown and Henrique, and then have Janmark, Perry, and Derek Ryan. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened. But the Oilers, they take on Carolina, and a winnable game, no question. And the good news is, like, Edmonton's found their defensive game. There was all the concern that, wow, they lost Ceci, they lost Broberg, they lost Desharnais. Their defense is going to be the problem. Well, it hasn't been the last 3 games. Defense has been really good. Haven't limited much at all. But they're not scoring anything. So It's tough to win games when you only score one goal, especially when you don't score any goals in the first 57 minutes of the game. So they don't have a heavy week. They play Tuesday and Friday. That's it. Now, Friday's game, for those of you going, it's a big night. It's the Sidney Crosby of Jenny Malkin come to town. It's always special when you have two future Hall of Famers, guys who just scored their 1,300th point in the case of Malkin, 500th career goal. Sidney Crosby's up to 1,600 career points, one of only 10 players in NHL history to do that. And it is also the Hall of Fame night for the Edmonton Oilers, as Craig McTavish and Dr. Randy Gregg will be honored. Now, this year is going to be a little bit different. If you've been to the previous ones, they happen before the game. Now, if you're wondering why it's rushed if it's before the game, because there's a timeline. You can't, if you go over, you can actually get a pretty healthy fine by the NHL. So, then it kind of feels condensed and rushed. So this year, if you're going to the game on Friday night, puck drop is whatever time, 7:10. When the game is over, they'll take about 8 minutes, get the red carpet, get everything set. Players will go in the room and change, and then they're going to have the ceremony. So you don't have to rush. And I think, because a lot of people couldn't rush to get to the game early. They're starting the ceremony at 6 o'clock on a weekday. It was hard for people to get there. So it's a Friday night. So plan accordingly that you go to the game, and then to honor McTavish and Greg, you can stay in your seat after the game, and that's when the ceremony will take place. So now, did they do it just so Mac T would have a little bit more time to talk? It's very possible. Very possible. It's pretty good on the mic. So we'll see. So that's what's happening on Friday night in case you are going to the game. It's always special when Crosby and McDavid face off, two of the greatest players of their generation, no question. So that'll be fun. Also on Friday night, unfortunately, tough timing for the Elks. They have their season-ending game against the Toronto Argonauts. And it doesn't mean anything for Edmonton in the standings. I understand that. But it means something for some players. If you look at Toronto, they're locked in. They're finishing second for sure. They're going to host Ottawa. They can't catch Montreal, so they're locked in. But Edmonton, I think, Trey Fort, every time it's an opportunity, especially now to showcase your owner, maybe your GM and coach, if they're coming back, that, hey, I should be the guy next year. No questions asked. He should have been the guy this year. No questions asked, but they kind of screwed the pooch on that one. But they will wrap up their season on Friday. Meanwhile, also on Friday night, you will have the World Series. Kicks off. The Yankees are in Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers. And this has all the makings of a fantastic World Series. Something you haven't seen since 1956. Back when LT was wheeling around Maidstone, Saskatchewan, loving life as a teenager. The last time that each league's home run leader went head-to-head. It'll be the 6th time in baseball history, but only the first since 1956. Cons, any idea who the 2 home run leaders were in 1956 in their respective divisions?
No,
Okay.
I wish I knew.
Well, you had Mickey Mantle, of course.
Okay, Mickey, yeah.
And Duke Snyder.
The Duke.
The Duke, great name.
Yeah.
Prior to that, 1937, Joe DiMaggio and Mel Ott. 1936, Lou Gehrig and Mel Ott. 1928, Babe Ruth and Jim Bottomley. And 1921, Babe Ruth and George Kelly. So something that hasn't happened in a long, long time. 68 years since the respective home run leader in the AL and the NL went head-to-head. And they're 2 pretty big names in Shohei Ohtani and Mr. Judge. So, man, there's lots of star power in this series. No question. Soto, and then you got Betts. You go down the list. Stanton, all that guy does is hit moonshots key times for the Yankees. Should be a hell of a series. Also, it's going to be a very expensive series. The cheapest ticket is $900. I saw Joe Pamplioni on Twitter put it up there. But you know what the most expensive ticket for one game is? $35,000. What the hell are you getting for $35,000? That's what I want to know. Like, does it come with seat warmer? Do you get like a massage between innings? Someone's coming in there. I'm sure you're going to have your own server, but whew, I get a lot of people have disposable income, pretty excessive disposable income, but 35 grand for one game, not the series, for one game. Kind of crazy. Also, NFL weekend, the Lions and the Vikings, a hell of a game, came right down to the wire. I'm missing that 2-point convert. You had to go for 2 because even if you just kicked 1, well, then you just lose by 1 point instead of 2. So it made sense to me. I understood why they did it, but that was a big story. You have 2 games tonight. We'll get to those. Green Bay and Houston, a good game. You had the Giants. Oh my goodness, now, Cons, you followed the NFL for a long time. So the Giants punted on their first 6 series. Not good. But they had 4 series that resulted in negative yards. 4 series. And so that's like first down, second down, third down. We're punting because we've lost yards combined. 4 different series, they're minus yardage. Like Strutty was -5 one game. These guys were -4 on 4 different series. Are you joking? It's unbelievable. They were terrible. Carolina obviously is not very good. The Chiefs, they just know how to win games. Their defense is great, and their offense is not electric right now. They're not wowing you with great plays. They run the ball efficiently, they find different plays that count at the right time. San Fran obviously is banged up and beat up, and Purdy throws that interception in the end zone. So that cost them. Then you look at the Jets. They bring in Adams, and guess what, Cons? Not much changes. 15 points for the Jets. Basically, Breece Hall. Adams had what, like 3 catches for 30 yards?
Good start.
Yeah.
That was it.
It was nothing. So it's tonight you got 2 games. The Chargers, I need Vidal to give me 8 points in fantasy. Anybody else waiting? Arizona and LA will go at it. And then, of course, you have Baltimore and Tampa Bay. That should be a hell of a game because Baker Mayfield and that offense is great. Baltimore, obviously, they're doing very well. Mark Andrews seems to have, he's like the Undertaker. He's risen from the dead and has started to get involved a little bit. Derrick Henry is still an absolute machine running the ball. So they got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football tonight. And the other news, Deshaun Watson ruptures his Achilles, and his season is over. Some wondering if his career over. I don't know about that. Now, I know that they really can't get out of his contract, Cons, but if you're on the IR for the whole year, do you count against the cap? How does it work in the NFL?
Good question. I should take a look at that one. But yeah, they have is it 67 million tied to him in the next 2 years?
Yeah, but if he's not playing, is it still tied to them? Like if he's injured? Like I get that if they just release him, they don't get any cap relief. But what if he's hurt? Do you get cap relief in the NFL?
No. Once or players on the IR count against the salary cap.
Oh, so they don't have an LTIR in football, which seems odd because that league has a lot of injuries.
Yeah, when you put them in IR, it counts against the cap. Once the season is started, any player on the roster, injured list, or practice roster counts against the cap. That's going to hurt him. Yeah.
Oh, well. That's too bad.
Gregor, the coach, wouldn't take him out. Football gods did.
Look at what Jameis Winston did when he came in. Doesn't he have more? He has as many touchdown passes Watson has now all year. Like it's comical. Like not only was he a deplorable human being for what he did, he has been an absolute tire fire of an actual quarterback. So if you just want to evaluate him as a quarterback, it has been horrific for them. Horrific. And you know what? I'm here for it. Is it petty? 100%. I don't cheer for injuries at all. Never want to see a player get hurt. But trust me, I was not upset when I saw him get hurt, if that makes any sense. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440 in our inbox. It's where you can text us in your thoughts on the weekend. NHL, the orders. I don't like it's odd to me to be like, yeah, they're 2-4, they're not playing well. because the element of their game that's struggling is the one element of the game that I'm most confident they would get back. If they were struggling defensively and giving up tons of goals and tons of chances, you'd be like, "Ooh, geez, they might not figure it out." But that's not the problem. They've barely given up any chances lately. They can't score, though. They should have been up in that game. And if you win in Dallas, now you're 3-3, and you're like, all right. Not a great start, but not terrible. They still would have had a chance to go 5-3, which is their goal in every 8-game set. Now, at best, they can go as 4-4, which isn't terrible. But they'll need to be Carolina and Pittsburgh at home. They'll have rest, right? They play Saturday, Tuesday, Friday. So fatigue will not be an issue whatsoever in that game. So see where it goes. Also, the around the NHL, I have a question. We discussed this on the rundown, Frank and I want to ask our listeners, because I love this question, because I'm not sure I don't see a clear, obvious answer, which makes it good. So I was looking, because some guys over the weekend, some players, it's only 4 years removed from their draft class, right? The 2020 draft class, you had Lafreniere went first, Quentin Byfield was second, Tim Stützle went third, Lucas Raymond, Jake Sanderson, Drysdale, Holtz, Quinn, Rossi. But there's some other guys in that draft class that have performed quite well. Seth Jarvis, 13th overall, Dawson Mercer, 18th overall, Anton Lundell, 12th overall to Florida. You know, you even got Cole Perfetti starting to find his game. JJ Paterka in Buffalo. Coach loves him, raves about him. His numbers are pretty good. Jake, and then, Sanderson. What about that Brock Faber kid? Oh, he's not bad. So if I did say you get to pick 3 forwards out of that draft class from the 2020 draft class to say, starting today from what you've seen at the NHL, in 3 years, who do you think are the 3 best forwards and why? 833-401-1440. I think we're all going to agree Faber and Jake Sanderson are the 2 D-men, so I don't want to waste anyone's time. You got, I like Braden Schneider, Jamie Drysdale, good. But I think Faber, now, unless you think one of those other guys are going to be better than Faber and Sanderson. I really like Jake Sanderson in Ottawa. Oh, really like him. But the 3 forwards, there's lots of options. So I'm curious, Stützle, Raymond, Lafreniere, Jarvis, Mercer, Lundell, Byfield, maybe like Perfetti or Paterka, I don't care, but which 3 and why? 833-401-1440. Coming up on the show today, we have a loaded show for you. Sean Brown, of course, is in. It's Monday afternoon. He will join us. Hurricanes GM Eric Tulsky will be by at 3:20. We got Gord Stellick, a former NHL GM. There's a lot of GMs on the show today. Alan May out of Washington. We'll talk a little football with Brian Diardo. Speck will be by. Kevin Woodley. We're talking goaltender. We're going to talk about the Duchesne goal late in the second period. Also, Woodley's fired up. He still is. Now, this is him. Order fans have moved on. They won the game, but he's still fired up about the Michkov goal. There's no way it should count, according to the goalie. So we'll talk to Woodley about that. And just goalie numbers across the league. What's up? We're seeing an increase in goals from the slot. Higher slot, in fact. Is it just an anomaly? Or is there something changing in the game? Are shooters picking different spots? We'll find out. Woodley digs into that, so we'll get to all of that and more. Cam Tate, the 2-minute warning on a busy Monday edition of the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Remember, use the promo code Gregor50 this month of October, and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. We'll come back with Gord Stellick.
Need a truck? Want a great deal on a truck? Get into Wolf GMC Buick. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. Take advantage of 0% financing on Sierra half-tons. Oh, and guess what? GMC employee pricing is back on all in-stock 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons. That means thousands of dollars in savings on GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and 1 ton. Also thousands off the industry-leading SUV, the GMC Yukon. Get to Wolf GMC Buick now and drive away with money off and a smile on. Just off the Anthony Henday.
From bench to bench, sport to sport, Elite Promotional Marketing will help take your teamwear to the next level with a wide selection of uniforms, apparel, and promotional products. So when you want your team to look elite, head to ElitePromoMarketing.com.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
For 5 days only, the President's Sale is on at the Brick. We've got the best offers of the season, like up to 50% off mattresses, up to $800 off sectionals, and up to 65% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Also, when you buy more, you save more, up to an additional $1,000 when you buy 2 or more select major kitchen appliances. Plus, protection guaranteed. No exclusions apply. In-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Mr. Winter needs a ghost. 1 plunge, 2, and 3. A toilet clogged with a ghost? Man, I love plumbing. You're free now.
I will never find peace. The clog is fixed, yes, but I have never trusted the sump pump.
No problemo. I can fix that. Now go to the light, you little scamp.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda.
To resolve your unfinished plumbing business, trust one plumber, Mr. Rooter.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need, Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
I'm Gene Principe for Legacy Heating and Cooling. If you need a furnace this Halloween, it'd be a grave mistake not to.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Need repair? Revampire your furnace. Just
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Legacy has a skeleton of furnaces in stock.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Plus no interest and no prints of payments for 1 year when you buy with Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
Rolling through Monday afternoon. How are you? I hope you had a great weekend. Ooh, goodness. I wore a toque today. First time. Wore a toque outside. It's getting that chilly again. And man, it's going to be like minus 12 tomorrow. What the? Hopefully it's short-lived. But yeah, you know, we get it. It's fine. But I will say, that first time, like minus 12 feels like minus 50. And then we get into December and it's minus 10. We're wearing T-shirts. It's just... we'll adapt, but the first one is always it's always a little chillier. So hopefully we'll be all right. Get through it because it's not great. So there you go. Let's go around the NHL. Brought to you by McDonald's, and you still got a few. You got 10 days left to get in Monopoly. Great prizes on the great food. Try the Big Arch if you haven't. It's so good. It's their best burger. You can win furniture, cars, food, prizes, all in Monopoly. but only for a limited time. We are joined now by former NHL GM, and of course, you can listen to him on Sirius XM. Gord Stellick joins us. Gord, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm gonna. Now, are you saying it's cold right now? Cooler out in Edmonton?
Yeah, it's getting cold. Yeah, like when it's minus all of a sudden, it's a little chilly. It's gonna be minus 12 tomorrow. Brutal.
Because we've got back East California type weather for a couple of days. So anyway, that's a drag, but we're getting a bit of respite of summer weather. So that's been kind of nice.
Take it when you can. No,
Absolutely,
no complaints. So as long as it's warm for the kids on Halloween, then I'll be fine. Gord, I want to ask you, being in the GM job, how often do you find are the GMs, like if you're Winnipeg and you've seen what's happened the last few years in the playoffs, and I don't know for sure if it had anything to do with how many games he's played in the regular season or not, but when all the studies on games played and Hellebuck started the second most games in the NHL over the last 3 seasons, he's been over 60 starts every year. Their team defense is obviously great. He's obviously great. Would the coach and the GM talk openly about saying, hey, let's try to get this down to maybe 57 or 56, whatever, as long as our backup's serviceable. But even if there's the odd game we have to sacrifice because we're going with our backup, if we want to have playoff success, aren't we better to have a fresher Hellebuck?
Absolutely. Now, and that in some ways is why what now has changed in that, the Swayman contract and the Ottinger contract, and a lot of it because of Igor Shesterkin, wanting to reset the mark for salaries that, if your goaltender's your top paid player, then you almost feel like you've got to use him for a 65 maybe, but whatever number. We kind of went to, a 1B more than a number 2 in many cases. Like Laurent Brossoit was a great example when he was a backup about being a, real good number, kind of 1B rather. So it's, but in a perfect world, to answer your question, Jason, yeah, like 55 would be the good number and have them healthy, ready to take a run in the playoffs. But sometimes if your better goaltender is appreciably better and you're trying to make the playoffs, then you end up having to play him a number greater than 55.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's ideal for them, especially you look at his age and you look at, the wear on the treads a little bit. And I've seen his numbers, and he gets a lot of shots. Their defense is great, obviously, as a team defense. And so you don't necessarily have to just have Hellebuck. And the other thing is, Gord, they also play the fewest back-to-backs. So I wonder if that actually maybe is more of a challenge, because usually nowadays when it's back-to-back, okay, well, our backup's playing blank many games for sure. There's not many teams that go the same guy 2 nights in a row anymore on back-to-backs. And because they have the fewest, I wonder if that's even harder for them to say, okay, we got to make sure we're going to pick 19 other games where Eric Comrie can play.
Well, I think it's very doable, and I'm sure that's something they're thinking about and discussing, and particularly when you get off to a start like they have right now. I mean, there's a lot of runway still to go, but obviously about if you get in a precarious spot about making the playoffs, that's different. Right now, I mean, they're not, but we'll see if that changes, because to the point is, in the playoffs, you're saying, okay, we're thinking positive. We're being bullish. So we're thinking our number 1 goaltender could play up to 28 playoff games because we intend to go all the way. And that's going to extract a physical, emotional, mental toll that's incredible. So if he's completely rested in every way, shape, or form, the best possible heading into the playoffs, that would be an ideal situation.
Gord Stellick joins us on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. You look around the league and you never want to panic, Gord, but you get into a season and you can't win a Stanley Cup in October, but you can really hurt your chances if you have a bad start and then have to scratch and claw. And I know everyone's like, oh, Edmonton did it last year. I said, yeah, they also had to win 16 in a row and 8 in a row. Like it's hard to do. How concerned do you think at all, or when does the concern level reach nervousness if you're Nashville?
Well, I'd say it's nervousness right now. It's not panic, but I'd say it's nervousness. I mean, because of teams like Winnipeg and Dallas and even Utah, like, holy mackerel, you got a lot of points you're behind after 5 games, and these are the kind of teams that you think he'll be fighting for a playoff spot for. So yeah, there's got to be a component of that. And the other part is, I don't care what it is, whether it's a game or a season, whatever, chasing is just a bad mentality. When you're always chasing, when you're behind in games and you're always chasing, it's just a tiring negative mentality. I mean, like, you come up with a big win, but say all those other teams in the Central Division come up with wins well. So you haven't gained any ground. You finally had a great win. So it's interesting. It started with Edmonton, then the concern or focus moved to Colorado, and now it's moved to Nashville as far as a Western Conference team that has really been slow getting out of the gates. And how is that going to play out when we hit game number 82?
If you're the GM in New York, and there's all the talk about Shesterkin, and the numbers get out public, and he didn't turn down this, oh yeah, he turned down that, blah blah blah. Where do you see that negotiation going, especially when you look at how the goaltender position, Swayman didn't reset it by any stretch of imagination. If anything, he just set the new bar, and Allmark and Ottinger were all like, okay, and boom, everybody's got the exact same contract. Shesterkin's really good, don't get me wrong, but if you're playing your goalie less now than ever before, can you really convince yourself to pay a goalie $11.5 million? And is he worth it?
Well, two parts. I mean, you may never convince yourself if you're the management, but you may have to pay the number that you don't convince yourself on. I'm sure, Cam Neely feels they're paying Jeremy Swayman. I know Cam's not the general manager, but just by his comments and his genuineness that they're paying Jeremy Swayman a number bigger than he believes befits his record and what have you. So, one concern Jeremy Swayman was a restricted free agent, so you knew he wasn't going anywhere on his own, where Igor Shesterkin, now he claims he likes New York. I have no reason to think he doesn't. So, if he makes $1 more than Artemi Panarin, would that do it? But if he wants to make 12 rather than 11.7, I mean, you're arguing, I know it's a lot of money for us, but a plug nickel over that kind of money. Or if he wants to be top goaltender period, will somebody else pay him? I mean, Bobrovsky got the $10 million to go to Florida, but he also wanted to go to Florida. He wanted out of Columbus, right? Mm-hmm. So, but he got the top dollar. So I don't know which way Shesterkin's intent on playing it, how serious he is, because he controls that if he goes. But in New York, obviously, it seems like with the Rangers that this recent goaltenders union secret meeting, whatever they've had about lobbying for themselves and advocating for themselves, it seems like he wants to lead the charge. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think if you're the Rangers, you got to pay it, whatever it is. You got to get him signed. You're an elite team. You got aspirations of winning Stanley Cup. If you don't have having great goaltending is a big time trump card. Even in their playoff loss, it would have been a lot quicker had it not been for Shesterkin. So I just it's kind of fun and amusing, a little surprising that it got public for some reason this early in the season.
Yeah, well, it is interesting because if you look at Carey Price, so he has the highest cap hit of any goalie at $10.5 million. He's in the 7th of 8-year deal. So, his was signed that long ago. Sergei Bobrovsky's in year 6 of a 7 deal at $10 million. Vasilevsky's in year 5 of 8. Then it drops down. Connor Hellebuyck just signed $8.5 million, first year of 7. Swayman $8.25. Sorokin $8.25. They're both in the first year of 8-year deals. We just saw Allmark's deal kick in, and you have Ottinger. So that's 8.5 is the high mark of any contract in the last 5 years. And so if the Rangers, I think they have lots of reasons to argue to say, we're not going to 11. No one else is even close to it. And as good as Shesterkin is, he ain't clearly that much better than the other guys' numbers. And while I get that they want the goalie, do they have to pay essentially $3 million more than the going rate of the last 5 years?
Yeah, UC Saros, another one, another contract that was just negotiated that's incomparable to the numbers you were just saying. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, but he's claiming, that he's the guy that's going to lead them over the wall and follow me. And those kind of contracts whoever the next ups that are the real elite goaltenders will be getting Shesterkin money more so compared to the other comparables that have been used up until now. So anyway, it's interesting. He's got, I would think, leverage. I don't know what other teams would be thinking of paying. You start now looking, we got to get used to the fact we've had a flat cap for at least 3 years, and that's changed things because it's made teams struggle to be cap compliant. Now, if the cap grows at 5% or whatever the figure is, or more than that, 8%, whatever it is each year, then that correlates into a player, because they can get up to 20% of the cap. I mean, nobody gets that right now, but they can. One player can get up to 20% of the cap. So it's all this about percentage of the cap. And you got a guy saying, okay, my percentage can, 5 years ago, that's fine. That was a percentage for 8.5 million or whatever. Now, when I'm looking down the road, if I'm thinking long term, that same percentage would correlate to 11, 11.5, 12, whatever figure he wants to use.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be fascinated because I can see the Rangers if they want to. And then I look at another team, because you mentioned how Bobrovsky wanted to go to Florida, and Florida wasn't a good team when they signed Bobrovsky. They were looking to rebuild. So does Shesterkin want to leave New York and then go to a team who's likely, if I look at the salary cap, Gord, it would probably be a team that's not a contending team right now. And that to me is going to be the fascinating part of it.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find. I mean, God rest his soul, Johnny Gaudreau was the one that caught the Flames by surprise at the 11th hour, and who would have thought he'd go to Columbus? And then it didn't really jive with him saying he wanted to be closer to home, but that would have been Philadelphia. And anyway, that's that changed the things. That the Tkachuk trade was the things were pushed a year ahead. So I don't know. It's very intriguing because there's not a lot of real surprise free agents every year. Like Stamkos was a bit of a surprise, but it was something Tampa Bay controlled. At the end of the day, they made other moves, and in the cap world, they made a business decision. This one, and he may end up being the best goaltender this season. He's up there among the top, along with Hellebuck and whatever, whatever number, top three, whatever number you want to say in the league. And I don't know what the Rangers feel they have as far as backup goes, or is anyone coming up in that. But it seems like Shesterkin has leverage, and we'll see how that all plays out.
Gord Stellick joins us. Gord, we have a question today, so I'll ask you for fun. You get to pick, looking at what we've seen already, and then projecting to 2027. Who would be your three best forwards from the 2020 draft? There's Stützle, Lucas Raymond, Lafreniere, Seth Jarvis, Dawson Mercer, Anton Lundell, Quentin Byfield, Cole Perfetti, Peterka. Maybe you're high on Connor Zary. Potentially, I know there's a lot of people that are. If you had to, from what you've seen and then projecting, which three forwards from that draft class do you like the best come 2027?
Now, was Wyatt Johnston that year or not?
No, he's later.
Okay. So, yeah, it's funny because we don't have a McDavid or Matthews or McKinnon or, ones jumping out at you, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, Lafreniere seems to have found his stride. So I put him there. Who are the? I mean, again, we were just talking about Winnipeg, and I've really been big on Cole Perfetti. And I know it's funny. He went 19 games last year, one stretch where he didn't score, and he was a healthy scratch. Others, but I'd like him. And then give me the other names again.
There's
Sorry.
Stützle, Raymond, Seth Jarvis, Anton Lundell, Lucas Raymond, those type of, because you already mentioned Quentin Byfield.
Yeah, okay, I'll throw Stützle. I'll throw Stützle as the third. There we go. I'm still, even though he came back a bit last year, it seems like, if Ottawa can get it going. So those would be the three, but it doesent seem like there's a Hart Trophy player or perceived Hart Trophy player in any of them.
Yeah, Jake
That's
Sanderson.
pretty high bar, though.
Yeah, Sanderson and on the back end to me I think he might be the best player of the draft when it's all said and done. But it's a good draft class. You're right. It doesn't have a McDavid or a Matthews, but I think it's a really good discussion on who we think is going to be good. Because I'll say the one guy when I do a lot of research on data and stuff, Anton Lundell and Europeans, when they get to 22, they get a little bit more comfortable in the league, man. I think Anton Lundell is going to be a hell of a player.
Oh, I mean, the thing was, when you mention all those names, they're all players you want on your team, right? Mm-hmm. They're all players that have not fully realized whatever their upside is going to be, their full upside. So, I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
I think we might have lost Gord there. It is fun. We got a lot of texts coming in as well on that to see what who you like for the top three. Hey, Gregor, who was the Oilers pick that year? Dylan Holloway went 14th. I don't necessarily put him in that category amongst the other ones, but we'll see. The Shesterkin one, honestly, when you look at there's a strong argument if you're the Rangers, when Carey Price, he's in year 7 of 8, right? It's been a long time since he signed that deal. Same with Bobrovsky and Vass. The numbers have continually gone down Connor Halley just signed, and he's at 8.5. Right, so he's the fourth highest paid goalie. Then you've got Swayman and Sorokin, and now you got Allmark and Ottinger. They're all at the 8.25 mark. Saros is in there too. He didn't get over. So I like Shesterkin. He's going to turn 29 in December. But this talk of an $11 million contract of the highest paid player in the Rangers doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't think it does. And it's going to be a fascinating negotiation because if you look at it and say, okay, him and the Rangers, let's hypothetically pretend that they're going to split and he's going to test free agency. So, well, Tampa Bay's not going to sign him, right? Montreal's not going to sign him. They like their young goalies. Florida can't afford him, so he's out. Winnipeg, no. Boston, no. Ottawa, no. The Islanders, no. Nashville, Dallas, no. New Jersey, no. So then you get into teams. Edmonton can't afford him, so they're not in on it. There's LA, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Seattle, probably not. I wouldn't think. Vancouver, I guess unless they get some career-ending numbers on Demko, then they're not in on it. Vegas, I don't see how they can afford him. So well, the one team actually maybe because they have tons of cap space. If they want to get rid of a young goalie, would be Buffalo, right? And so you kind of have to look at when Bobrovsky left in free agency and went to Florida. Florida was a team they'd missed the playoffs forever, right? But they had cap space, and he wanted to go there. So I understand it's like, well, the Rangers can't afford to lose him. Are we sure? Because I would argue, can they afford to pay him 11.5 and then think they're going to win? I don't think they can. I'm fascinated by this. He might be able to get 9, maybe 9.5, but 11 just doesn't make sense. He's playing fewer games. Nowadays, your starters, like 57 games is a high number. 60, really high number. So you got to have him for the playoffs. Okay, it's true. But here's the irony. There's no salary cap in the playoffs. Your cap hit's done. Honestly, Shesterkin 11 mil doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I'll be curious to see if the Rangers, do they blink? Or do they say, no. You want to go test the market? Go test it. Go see if anybody who's competitive is willing to pay you that money. We'll see. Hey, Gregor, wouldn't Florida want to go from Bobrovsky to Shesterkin? Yes. However, Bob isn't a free agent that time. So they can't have both of them on the contract, right? It's timing. So I'm looking at, they already have Bobrovsky. How are they going to trade it? How are they going to get rid of him? To get Shesterkin, that's the challenge. Would they want to? Of course. But I'm just talking about when I crunch numbers, how do you do it? Quick break. We'll come back. We got the 2-minute warning and more on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 14.4. Hey, guys, look at the temperature. No, the minus 12 is overnight tonight in the morning. It's going to warm up to +8 tomorrow, which is great. That's why it's short-lived. But just remember, anybody, your hoses outside, this is where you forget, and one night it ruins it. So at bare minimum, unplug your unscrew your hose from the faucet if you want. Otherwise, you could get -10, -12. That's when your hose can crack. We'll come back. Cam Tate joins us in the 2-minute warning. The Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. Legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment is an innovative market leader across Western Canada, with sports and entertainment properties including the Spruce Grove Saints, the Junior Prospects Hockey League, Silent Rides Charter Company, the Hockey Super League, and the newly launched Female Super League. Silent Ice also owns the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds and operates the Morinville AAA Arena. The Silent Ice Center, a new state-of-the-art entertainment facility, is open in Nisku, which features 2 sheets of ice, including a 1,600-seat arena and a restaurant with a viewing area.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantork.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$247. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Oh, look at Conmat. It's game day here. And by the way, get in at playalberta.ca if you like. Chargers taking on Arizona tonight. And you have the Ravens in Tampa Bay. Woo! Good one. Connor just decked right out in LA Chargers. That's actually not a bad hat, I have to say. I kind of like that hat you're wearing.
And it doesn't usually fit with my hair, by the way. But I got the haircut, Gregor, so I can.
What, your hair is that thick that you can't wear a hat?
It just squeezes in there. So with the haircut, whole new repertoire of hats.
Put another thing in the category of things I can't relate to. Hair impacting my ability to wear a hat. So again, that's the benefits, folks. It's the benefits. Smooth. Chris, I can wear any hat. Doesn't matter. I like it. 833-401-1440. Hey guys, stood still, Jarvis and Byfield. I might have put Byfield higher if he was a center. Well, he has been playing center, yeah. I like Mercer and Lafreniere. Still hasn't played a playoff game yet from G. Yeah, well, not surprised some of those teams are bad, right, when you get drafted to them. I will say the one guy to watch, I have Anton Lundell. I think Anton Lundell is going to become a huge player. Huge player. Hey, Gregor, how can you not pay $11 million for Shesterkin? He's your best player. Would you not trade Leon for him straight across? Where else would New York get a goalie of that caliber? It's the same if you were to lose McDavid. I disagree. Because a lot of goaltender success is based on what's playing in front of them. It's different. Plus, McDavid plays all 82 games. The goalie doesn't. Right? He just doesn't. Not anymore. Like, he might play 75% of the games. He might. And then he only impacts one end of the ice. Your best defense, your best forwards, they impact that offense. They impact defense. They don't just impact one end. So that's why. So not only is he only playing 75% of the games, then he has no impact in one area of the ice. I get the importance of it. I understand it. But I think at times it's overblown. Look at teams that have won Stanley Cups lately. How many of them had elite, top of the line, big, expensive goaltenders? And Florida did, yeah, with Bobrovsky. But for years, people claimed that was a terrible contract, right? Because the team wasn't that good. Now, when the team became competitive, sure. But I think it's harder to have a competitive team then. So it's a great debate, but I think the Rangers, if they sign Shesterkin, and the other thing is there's no reason to do it. If I want to say, hey, Shesterkin, we'll make you the highest paid goalie in the last 5 years, no problem, 9.5. I would do it. But to jump up to 11.5 when no goalie in the salary cap era has ever made that, goalies are playing fewer games now than they were when Price signed his deal and brought that when they signed their deals. There's no reason to do it. Swayman, Allmark, Saros, Hellebuck. Now, let's go look at the numbers over the last 3 years of those guys, right? And compare them to Shesterkin. So if you look at games started in that time, you see Saros number 1 at 198, Hellebuck 194, Shesterkin's at 169. So he's not super high. He's got a 922, which is solid, right? Sorokin's at a 920. He's got a 237. So I don't even argue that Shesterkin's the best goalie over a period of time. You could argue that. And I'd be like, okay, I'll give it to you. But is he, if those guys are 8.5, why are you paying him $3 million more? Now, he might not like the market, but the market is what the market is. Sometimes it benefits you. Hello, Darnell Nurse. Sometimes it hurts you. But to me, when I look at all the contracts signed by goalies in recent memory, Shesterkin, no one has signed for more than $8.5 million in the last 5 years. So why would I jump to 11.5? I don't get it. That's all. So, and I understand that they're going to be worried about, well, what happens if we lose him? And I get it. It's a valid argument. But what if you can sign a $6 million goalie? Still pretty good goalie. And a really good defenseman. Are you that much worse? That's the question. We'll never fully know the answer, but it's worth it. But I just look and say, guys, this isn't me. I remove emotion and I say, let's just look at the market. This is what the market has been paying for NHL goalies. You just got 4 guys, Allmark, Ottinger, good goalies, starting goalies. None of them make more than 8.5. So I wouldn't be going to 11.5. The fact that he turned down 11, I'd be like, I'm out. I'd walk away. I really would. Tough decision, but I'd do it. Or I'd off say, hey, like, come on. I can't believe if it's, and I don't know if it's true, because it kind of seems like, why would Shesterkin walk away from 11 and say no to that? Because maybe, like, what if he gets injured this year? Right? Last year, his numbers weren't great. Now he's injured, and you say, oh, geez, now you're 29? And he just turned down 11, allegedly. That's a big one. Let's get to the 2-minute warning brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home of the no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. You want to stay warm, comfortable all winter? Do it at legacyheating.ca. Cam Tate, longtime journalist in town. Cam, of course, in a wheelchair, born with cerebral palsy. He's always wanted to be on radio, but due to his disability, wasn't plausible until now. Through the wonders of technologies, Cam words come to life in the 2-minute warning.
One can seriously wonder if Oilers coach Chris Knobloch practice, saying Peter picked a peck of pickled peppers before he came out at the tail end of Monday morning before he stepped in front of Edmonton media, because the majority of the chit-chat with Coach Chris involved two words. Both start with P, and we'll get to that in about 250 words or so. And with no extra charge, we will offer a third word to go with the topic of discussion. So get ready for the triple P. There you go. You know the pair of 2 words, power play. It was the plight of practice today for the wrong reason. The Oilers' man advantage was lethal at the end of last season, spilling over into the playoffs. In fact, it improved to 37.3%, clicking on 18 of 51 opportunities. After 6 games, the Oilers are 1 for 15 for 6.7%. So the question for Knobloch today was simple. Is it time to take an oil gun and have a peek under the hood? Or does he go back to the garage and start replacing parts to get this thing humming? Legitimate question, don't you think? Since if you have a good power play, The world seems to go around a little more snappier. But Coach Knobloch isn't going looking for any parts hidden in the garage. He said he's going to stay the course, rely on how good the man advantage was, and see what the gift of father time is coming down the pike. I think for now, that's the right approach. Oh, I know. You could say the Oilers should reinvent things. We could view this as a topic of concern, and yes, to an extent, I agree. But after just 6 games, now if we're having this same offensive face-off chat in early November, I will absolutely change my tune. But for now, I honestly believe we need to have get ready for the triple P, power play, patience, 2-minute warning with Tate, Monday, Friday, Gregor Show, Sports, 1440.
Well, yeah. Can put out an APB for the power play because, and you've seen it where they might go on a stretch, they're 1 for 10 or something, but you're like, oh my goodness, they created so many great chances and they hit goal posts or they just put it over. That hasn't happened. Their power play has not looked in sync at all. Right? At all. So. Hey, Gregor, your logic's off. McDavid plays 22 minutes where the goalie plays 60. If you go by time and ice, he's worth more. Framer Johnny. Johnny, does he impact the game when the puck's in the neutral zone or the offensive zone? How much time in the game is there? So McDavid, when he's on the ice, is in the game regardless of where the puck is. Right? And the other thing is just look at market. So Well, some would say Shesterkin's the best player in New York and he should be paid more than Panarin. Why? Is Hellebuck the best player in Winnipeg? Is Sorokin the best player in New York? Saros arguably the best player in Nashville? It's all about the market and comparables. There's no goalie comparable where Shesterkin is 30% better than those other guys to get $3 million more. It just doesn't make sense to me. That would be my argument if I'm the Rangers. We'll see if they do it. My gut tells me they probably won't because teams get nervous. But it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why you would pay your guy $3 million more than any other goalie in the last 6 years has been paid. Because that's when the last guy to get that deal at 9.5 was Vasilevsky. So why would you do it? Quick break. When we return after 3 o'clock, Sean Brown will join us. We got the GM of the Carolina Hurricanes, Eric Tulsky, will join us at 3:20. Let's get to the Con Man Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. Big deals are happening right now at Fountain Tire. You can save up to 25% off select Goodyear, Cooper, and Dunlop tires, and you can get a bonus of $50 on any service of $150 or more until coming up at fountaintire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have signed 2024 first-round draft pick Samuel Riley to a 3-year entry-level contract. The Oilers traded back into the first round to select Riley with a 32nd overall pick in 7 games. So far, the 18-year-old has 2 goals, 3 assists, along with 6 penalty minutes for the OHL's London Knights. San Jose Sharks forward Matthew Celebrini is considered to be out week-to-week with a lower body injury. That was confirmed by GM Mike Greer. So we'll give another update after 2 weeks. On the ice tonight, with the Leafs hosting the Lightning. Puck drop 5:30 in that one. In the NFL, Week 7 will wrap up tonight. At 6:15, you got the Ravens in Tampa taking on the Bucks. Then at 7 o'clock, the Chargers heading down to Glendale to take on the Cardinals. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will return to practice this week after missing the team's past 4 games. He was placed on the IR when he was diagnosed with a concussion in Week 2, the 3rd diagnosed concussion of his NFL career. Coming up in Hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our co-host, former NHLer Sean Brown, also Carolina Hurricanes general manager Eric Tulsky, and CBS Sports NFL writer Brian Diardo. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
When interest rates are low, that's a good time to buy a vehicle. And 0% means it's a great time to buy. Right now, St. Albert Dodge can set you up with 0% financing on hundreds of vehicles. Virtually all new 2024 models. Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer. 0%. Dodge Durango and Hornet. 0%. Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks, all as low as 0%. Why pay interest? Head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Day or night, tasting just so right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at Cantork.com.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade. Safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Have you heard of anything more chilling than frozen beef? Until November 3rd, get an always fresh, never frozen Dave single from Wendy's for only $4. Nothing scary about that. Taxes extra at participating Wendy's until November 3rd. Terms and conditions apply.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Jap Machinery. Jap is digging deep on their 50-year history of supporting Alberta's construction industry with their line of special edition blackout excavators. Visit japmachinery.com for all the details.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 3 o'clock, welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, and X. Hope you're having an awesome day. Lots to discuss, lots of hockey talk, some NFL, contract talks around the league. Also, this just coming down, it's official that ACL and MCL both are torn for Brandon Ayuk. His season is done for the San Francisco 49ers. That seemed pretty obvious, but now it's being made official today. So unfortunate injury for one of the best receivers for the San Francisco 49ers. It is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And does that have an impact on the Niners' chances of making the playoffs? We shall see. If you always like to just go at PlayAlberta.ca, you can take the futures bets and see who you like or not. Because if you look at the NFC, you have, of course, the Lions and the Vikings at the top at 5-1. The Commanders leading their division at 5-2. Same with the Buccaneers, although they play tonight. Seattle, San Fran's only one game back of Seattle, so they're right in it in that regard. Not only there, but they got a better chance to win their division than they do to get a wild card spot today because you've got the Eagles and you have the Packers and the Bears, the Falcons, all with better records. So we'll see where it goes. 833-401-1440. That's a text line in our inbox. We got a lot of texts flying in. I like it. Good conversation in regards to Shesterkin. And guys, I don't agree with any of it, but if I'm Shesterkin, my response is, okay, get rid of me and then grab a goal you feel can provide the same or close to that for 8.5. See what free agents are out there from Narduk. Yeah, I agree. That's a negotiation. But then if I'm the Rangers, I say, okay, well, you leave. Who's going to pay you 11.5? Who's a competitive team? Right? We've read through the teams. Who's a competitive team? Would they like Shesterkin? Sure. Can they afford it right now? Like even Florida, right? Hey, Bobrovsky's, nearing the end of his contract. But his contract has a year after this one, so they can't afford it. Boston just signed Swayman. Tampa's got Vasilevsky. Ottawa's got Allmark. Montreal, I think, really likes their two young goalies. I don't think they're going to want to jump up to that much money. Detroit, they're a tire fire. New Jersey, they got Markstrom. So the Islanders, no. So then you look at teams like Carolina. Now, would they spend? They've never spent. So, we'll ask. Well, I know the GM can't talk about that. Other players, I get it for tampering, but we do have the GM and the Hurricanes coming up here in about 15 minutes time. So I'll ask a question kind of around that. But so Philadelphia, Columbus, Washington, maybe Detroit. I think Buffalo's probably the one that makes the most sense in the East. In the West, Winnipeg, no. Dallas, no. Utah, probably not. Although maybe Utah might be one. They might be willing to do it. That could be one. Chicago, would they do it? They might because of Bedard, right? So he could go to another team and get his money, but he's likely got to do it in the same fashion that Bobrovsky did, where he went to a team that was a non-playoff team that had a lot of cap space, and they get their goalie, and then they make a lot of trades and everything else, and they become good. So that could happen, but we'll see. The Rangers, they might. There's a risk, of course. There's a risk. But I think there's just as much of a risk of signing a guy to a contract that would put him, more than that. If I looked at it, the last goalie signed to a contract above $8.5 million was in July of 2019. We're now in October of 2024. And yeah, I understand the cap's gone up recently, but it didn't for a long time. And now that it has gone up, you've had Hellebuck signed last October, a year ago, at $8.5 million. Swayman, Ottinger, Allmark, all just signed in the last year, $8.25 million. And now you're going to jump all the way up to 11.5. I'm just saying that you can argue the market is why you don't have to do it. They might, but it's fascinating. Sean Brown joins us. Brownie, what do you think about Shesterkin when you remove emotion and you just look at the market? Because players always want, hey, now the contracts are out there. They're comparable. You can't only use the comparable when it's beneficial to you.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what people, it doesn't matter what the other goalies are. My goalie's great. But that's not how it works. Because the other team's like, hey, here's the three guys. You know what? Darnell Nurse was probably going to sign for $8 million. And then all of a sudden, Seth Jones, Werenski, Hamilton, they all jumped up over $9 million. And now the market changes. So good timing for him, bad timing for the team. But right now, the market favors the New York Rangers.
And it's exactly right. I mean, the timing is everything. I mean, there's no question if you watch that Ranger-Toronto game that they played, I mean, it was a great game, and he had a significant impact on the result. And, goalies, it's such a tough position because you obviously need it. And there's only so many number one goalies that are out there, and he clearly is. But, it's tough now because when a player sees himself as a player that deserves that much, it puts the team in a tough spot too, right? Where there's only so much money to go around, right? Yeah. And then when you're talking term, man, is it risky as a GM to sign these guys long term?
Oh, for goalies especially, man, that's the most volatile position in the game.
I'd like to know what they base it off of, right? There's got to be some analytics, some numbers, reasons why they feel they can give out
and feel comfortable giving out these long-term deals.
Well, the guys just got 8 years. Look at them all. Ottinger got it. Swayman got, but they got it $8.5 million. So when I just look at the markets, now the Rangers, hey, all it takes is one team. It's just like every time a free agent signs. All it takes is one team. Now, I think there'd be other teams that will pay Shesterkin his money if he wants it, but they won't be playoff contending teams.
And that's always tough too, because, you know, he's in a great situation because he's surrounded by a great team and has a great opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. Do you really want to put yourself in a situation where you're making a lot of money and not in a situation where you're actually winning games? Because that's going to impact your fun meter, right? I mean, guys are all motivated and driven and competitive. You want to be in a situation where you're going to have success.
For sure. Now let's look at the Edmonton Oilers, Brownie. At the start of the year, everyone's, oh, geez, their defense, this is going to be a concern. Their last 3 games, their defensive game has been unreal. They cannot score. They're looking like Sean Brown, Jason Strudwick, Luke Gazdick. I'm looking at all the Oilers and analysts, right? And they're scoring at that rate right now.
Poor Oilers. I hate them. You know what? We all thought that their defense would be a concern, and I still think there is a concern. I still think they still need to go out there and find a top 4 defenseman with a little bit of size. I think Stetcher is doing an unbelievable job. He's playing, you know, he's playing well. He's getting involved. Emberson, you know, there's parts to his game that I like, but I definitely feel that they are missing a big body and someone back there that can just kind of, you know, when they're defending, they can actually knock guys off of pucks.
Yep.
You know, and
but Toronto, Edmonton's defensive game isn't the issue at all here. 4 losses, 4 goals.
But do you not feel that are the forwards getting it in spots where in the past, and like, is there?
Well, you think no one ever talked about Cody Ceci and Vinny Desharnais moving the puck so well that they gave these guys better scoring chances? So
Yeah.
no, I don't. To me, defensive game is not why they lost that game to Dallas. Not at all.
Yeah,
You can't feel free, Brownie, to raise the puck over his pad. Just try it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that, you know, some of their better players, you know what? It's not that when you watch their game, they're playing well, right? But it's not a 40-minute game, and it's a 60-minute game. And right now, it's the details, you know, where it's consistently doing it over a period of time. And I remember the times that, you know, I struggled throughout my career as a team, and the managers, you know, you knew when the manager, when Lou Lamoriello came into the room, you knew it was time to be like, whoa, you know, you better watch out. You know, the panic starts to set in because potentially there's going to be some movement or there could be a trade. But he would kind of go and he talked a lot about the accountability and everyone doing exactly what they need to do for the reasons why they're actually there. And for the most part, I think, you know, in the last couple of games, we've seen a lot of it. But it's, you know, the smallest, the details right now, whether it's, you know, in the offensive zone, getting in on a forecheck, angling guys, keeping pucks alive, you know, in the neutral zone, getting pucks in, defensively, defending, being strong, right? It's the consistency in which they're doing that. And they're just, there's times throughout the game, and you look at, you know, Stetcher taking that penalty with about 30 seconds left. You just, at what point in time is a mistake going to eventually end up in the back of your net? And when you're just fighting and clawing and trying to find some traction in your game, all those details matter. And, you know, so it's tough when teams kind of go through this, but you can really see that, you know, without that 60-minute of detailed, you know, gritty, hard hockey, and you get away from it for just a second when you're in a bit of a situation and slump that they're in, it's tough to get going, and it's what ends up getting in the back of your net, and it's hard to recover.
Yeah, I look at the Oilers right now. Their power play's junk. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Like, I find it funny in Edmonton. No one ever wants to ever admit that their offensive guys aren't playing well. I don't understand why it's so scared to say Zach Hyman, not good enough. Leon Draisaitl, not good enough. Connor McDavid, not good enough.
Yeah.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, not good enough. Arvidsson, not good enough. Jeff Skinner is the only top 6 forward who is producing and not just producing and playing well. And guess what? He's not on the first unit power play. Evan Bouchard, it's fun. No one's complaining about Evan Bouchard's defensive game. It's his puck handling skills, which is his best part of his game.
Yeah.
But the puck's a grenade right now for him. And they collectively don't have any composure. Now, do I think it's going to last forever? I do not. But right now, offense is their biggest weakness, oddly enough.
And right now, I think it would be a good time. I think they've obviously been so good for so long that they've lengthened the rope and opportunity that they deserve because they've had such a good power play that it's like, hey, you've built some trust, so why not give it to them? But they're at a point now where obviously now the second line or second power play unit has to be given an opportunity, because you can even see at times when those guys get out there with 20, 30 seconds left that I don't think they're feeling overly great about where they're at on the power play either, because they're struggling just on getting the puck in, where part of coaching too is recognizing, when to give sugar and when to take a little bit of sugar away. And the Oilers are in that situation where it'd be nice to see some of the guys on the second unit get an opportunity.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the GM of the Carolina Hurricanes, Eric Tulsky, will join us from the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Ain't it beautiful? There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here for Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Jizz Nuggets. This is New Jizz Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, Zachary Martin Hyman.
Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge. Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of New Jizz Nuggets.
Michelle and Colette are sisters. Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's number one.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Harris Schweiner.
The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree
Wilhawk beef jerky is the best.
it might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Others can try to imitate, but no one can duplicate Wilhawk beef jerky. Only available in Leduc. Get yours today, because you don't win friends with salad.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Wow, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need: Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all of your residential water needs, your local water treatment company, more than just big bottles. Culligan.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.320. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Hope you're having a lovely Monday afternoon. Only one game in the NHL tonight, because tomorrow all 32 teams are in action. There'll be 16 games across the NHL schedule tomorrow, including the Oilers hosting the Carolina Hurricanes as we get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the Female Super League, designed to elevate female hockey youth players. The FSL, will provide a platform for 12U and 14U players to develop and improve their skills. Learn more at femalesuperleague.com as we are joined. Gentleman who's been on the show many times, but now he's joined as the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes. Eric Tulsky joins us. Eric, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's good. Well, Eric, you know what? You've worked your way up. You've been assistant GM for many years. Now you're the GM. Tell me, what has been the biggest change for you going from assistant to GM?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference is now I'm responsible for the whole staff. And people think of the GM as the person who's in charge of the roster. And of course, that's part of it. But you've got a whole staff that you need to take care of. And you need to make sure every single person in that group is in position to succeed and do the best they can at their job.
So when you and I'm sure you're probably aware of it, but it's like anything, until you do it, you don't really know about it. And a lot of that has to be probably, people skills and saying, okay, how to put everybody in the best situation. How has it gone? What's been the most exciting part, I want to say, of being the GM for you the first few months in the job?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun seeing the whole thing come together and having the opportunity to talk about how I want to see that team function and talk through people's needs and being able to solve their problems. It's always fun, right? And I like being in that position where I have the opportunity to sort of knock down barriers for people and help them get done what they need to do.
Eric, you've been widely considered one of the, the really leaders of the analytics movement in the National Hockey League. You're a big proponent of it for a long time. And I've talked to you and you're like, hey, that doesn't mean that I don't care about scouting or anything else, but you're big into that. When you go back and you look over the decade of the changes and maybe even how your organization, because I know that publicly available numbers can be different from what the team's charting. I don't even know if you can put a percentage on it, but like, how much more growth do you think there is coming in the next few years in the analytic world?
I mean, the only way you can really answer that is by looking at what happened in other sports, I think, and other businesses for that matter. And where we are on that curve is pretty early. Baseball teams have staffs of 20 or 50 or 70 analysts on their staff, and basketball teams aren't quite at that scale, but they're pretty far along too. I think in every business, you want to have all the information you can to make the best decision you can. And in sports, the data is especially complicated. It's a lot harder to work through than sales figures at a widget company. And so that takes some real investment.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. You come in, Eric, at a time in an organization that's been very successful for a long time, but like anything, eventually there's some changeover, and you had significant changeover on your back end in losing Brady Shea and Brett Pesce to free agency. You bring in Gostisbehere and a few other guys on the back end, Sean Walker. Obviously, you still had a really good defensive core around them, but kind of maneuvering through that and the changes, something that I don't know if you've ever being a part of, like 2 out of your top 4 defensemen. That's a pretty significant change. And I'm guessing, can you kind of explain to me maybe your approach on how you felt to maneuver that and the best way to do it? And is it realistic to think you can just be 2 in and 2 out and everything stays the same?
Yeah, I mean, Don had built a great team, and our number one choice was to bring everyone back. But everyone saw what good players we had, and, the bidding was pretty competitive for them. And if we had wanted to just match all the salaries and bring back the same roster we had in the playoffs last year, we would have needed a payroll of $108 million. I asked the league if they would let me go $20 million over the cap, and they said no. So I had to find another plan. And, the only way to do it was to pivot a little bit and let some guys go who we would have loved to have kept, players who had been here for a long time and were, really important both on the ice and in the locker room. And that's hard. But, the other option was to keep a couple guys and let a couple go and try to cling to what we have. And you're getting worse because at 20 million over, you have to let some guys go. And so clinging to what you have and knowing you're taking a step back, it didn't seem like the right path when we're still not where we want to be. We need to keep finding ways to take steps forward. And so instead we pivoted, and it's a little bit tough sometimes to see as much change as we did, but we needed to find a way forward. And that meant, not just trying to cling to what we had. We brought in guys, we really prioritized looking for people who would fit. I think we play a very different style from a lot of teams, and that puts certain demands on players, but also creates some opportunities where there are some things that we don't need of players who play in other systems. And so we're prioritizing players who we thought fit and could come in and look their best for us. And so far, I think everyone we brought in has looked pretty good.
Eric, there's a young defenseman, Ty Smith, that was a high pick for the New Jersey Devils. I think he went 17th overall. I've kind of followed his career. Where's he at, and how is he fitting in?
Yeah, so he's with us on this trip. He was our extra defenseman in the first 2 games. He's a good pro who knows how to play the game. When he spent a little time down in Chicago and helped them a lot from a puck movement perspective and from a veteran presence perspective. When he's up, he's with us and is ready to step in if we need a player.
Looking at your forward group and kind of the evolution of a player like Seth Jarvis taken in the 2020 draft, which has been a pretty solid draft. If you look around, a lot of those players, no necessarily great superstar yet, although a lot of guys kind of knocking on the door. Eric, when you track a guy like Seth Jarvis, what is the untapped potential that's still there in his game?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that because I think he gets the most out of his game. He comes in, he works, he puts everything into it that he can. And, he's just gotten better every year. And I don't know how far he's going to go, but so far he just keeps taking steps forward. And he does it the right way. He's putting in as much effort as he can. He's learning everything he can. He's willing to do anything to help the team. Whether it's penalty killing or taking face-offs or whatever it is we need him to do. He'll not just do it, but dive into learning the right way to do it and try and make sure he's helping the team. And it's, you just love to have guys like that.
When you say, and I like your honesty, that you're not really sure, how far a guy can go. Like you take an analysis, and I'm sure it's a lot easier when you're analyzing guys who are in the NHL to say, okay, what can they do in the NHL rather than guys coming out of junior, because that's more of a projection. But even with all of the data you have available now, Eric, that's way more than ever before, how much of it is still a little bit of an unknown when you project guys? Or do you feel pretty comfortable that after, maybe 4 or 5 years in the NHL, you have a better sense of where guys at? Or is it still vary from position to position and player to player?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a good handle on where he is today. What's hard to know is how far it's going to go. Every year he's taken a step forward, and we've thought, okay, he got to the next level, and then he comes back the next year and takes another step. And I don't know if that's going to happen 1 more time, 5 more times. Like, I don't know how much longer he'll keep getting better, but I know his dedication, he will get as far as he possibly can because of the way he approaches the game.
And how much of that is the responsibility you find as a team to look and say, okay, like in your year-end interviews that you would have with players, do you come in there and talk about the year, but then would you present things to say, hey, here's something we think that you can add to your game that's going to take you to the next level? How does it, or what's your approach going to be running the organization and try to help those players all reach another level?
Yeah, I mean, that's a continuous effort. I think if you're waiting until the end of the season to tell a guy what you think he needs to do, it's already too late. It's an ongoing conversation about here's what we want to see from you, here's where we think you can get. Here are examples of you doing it well, here are examples where you still need some work. That's a running conversation. And, I think our coaching staff does a great job with guys making sure they know where they stand and what they need to do to reach that next level.
General Manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, Eric Tulsky, joins us. Eric, your team's been really good, and really, the whole time that you've been there, super competitive, and obviously, you want to win a Stanley Cup. So how do you find, from what you've seen in that team, what do you feel you have to do to get to the next step?
Yeah, I mean, we've been close. We've had 4 years in a row. One of them was a shortened year, but 4 years in a row where we played at 110 plus point pace in the regular season, and we haven't gotten there in the playoffs. And so you do start to ask, why not? What is it that needs to take that next step? On the other hand, even if we were winning championships, I think we'd be asking where we can get better, because you have to keep moving forwards. You always have to have that attitude. So it's not just about the playoffs. It's about an internal drive to get better. And I think that's something everyone on our staff feels. In terms of how we actually take those steps, we're still trying to make that progress. And, I think it's been different things that have been our undoing each year. It's not like there's one consistent problem that we just need to fix that and it'll all be solved. But you gotta get better in every area that you can, and keep putting yourself in position to where you can have an injury or two. You can have a guy have a bad game and still overcome it. And we haven't gotten there yet.
Eric, I'm just looking at your development coaches. And a lot of teams now have development coaches and guys that work with their prospects, the American League guys, junior guys. How important is that for your organization and the players that you guys have?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. And so Peter Harold got promoted to lead that group now. And he does a great job with the players. The whole staff does, honestly. I think we're trying to be really systematic about exactly what is it we think a player needs to get better at, and how can we show him that? How can we talk to him about it? What can he show us? How can we tell whether it's actually getting better? How can we tell whether the things we're asking him and talking to him about are resonating for him? That whole process of not just making the player better, but making sure we know what we did to help him and what worked and what didn't for him. That's all part of the process, and we're trying to get better at that and keep taking steps forward, because it's essential, right? We have a lot of prospects coming, and we need to be as good as we can possibly be at helping them turn into the players they can become.
Eric Tulsky, general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, joins us. Eric, you mentioned the playoffs, and when you watch the regular season and then you watch the playoffs, at times it seems like a very different game. How's the challenge of building a regular, because you want to be successful in the regular season, but the playoffs, it almost changes. You play the same team for a series. That never happens in the regular season. But I don't know, people say small sample size, but we've seen enough playoffs year after year. Do you notice a significant difference? Like, I see hits go up way more, so maybe that changes things. But how do you build a team that for a regular season, which is important to get to the playoffs, but then when you're in the playoffs, you kind of almost have to play a different way?
Yeah, I don't think there's as big of a difference as people make it out to be.
Okay.
Of course, the intensity ramps up. Of course, the physicality ramps up. We play an extremely intense game every year. And so it's not like we get to the playoffs and go, oh man, we're not ready for this. That's the game we play every night. And that's part of what Rod brings to this staff, is he gets the players both conditioned and bought in a way where it's hard to say you play perfect every 82 games, but it's at least 78 games that the players are going as hard as they possibly could. And they get to the playoffs and they still find a way to ramp it up a level, because now the other team is bringing it too, and you have to match that. And so, from that aspect, I don't think there's that much difference. I do think playing the same team over and over again has some impact on, things like special teams. There's only so much you can do to adapt from one night to the next when you've got 82 games.
Right.
You'll have some small wrinkles here and there, but by and large, you're playing your game each night. When you get to the playoffs and you're playing the same team every night for 2 weeks, it's a little different. You can start to put in bigger changes and bigger adaptations. But, ultimately in the end, it's still hockey.
True. And, sometimes you need some bounces. And I remember Volman telling me that he still felt there was like 35% of the game, especially in hockey, that if you track it as much, it was still just kind of luck based. And some people don't like to hear that because it's like, God, we prepare for everything. And then it's one bad bounce off a skate, deflects the guy in front, or, you throw it from the front and then it goes off a skate, boom. And that's the game winning goal in a 7-game series. And you're like, a whole season just ended on that one play. And I know some would argue, well, if you do more before that play, then you're not there. But how do you, as a guy who studied it, how do you rationalize the luck factor in the game of hockey?
Yeah, so I try to hold back from calling it luck because a lot of it comes down to something that, like if I wire a puck into the top corner, that's not luck.
Agreed.
I can't do it every time, but the time that I did it, it was a skilled play. And so there's some randomness to whether you happen to do it on this particular night. But most of what we're talking about isn't really luck in the classic sense of like it bounces off a skate in a random direction. Most of it is just this game our guys played their best and their guys didn't, or that game our guys didn't play their best and their guys did. And yeah, that's a big part of it. And that's part of why we value Rod's ability to get players giving their highest effort every game. You're still going to have some games where the puck just leaves your stick cleanly and some games where it doesn't. There's nothing you can do about that, but at least we know that every single game we're going to be putting in the most effort we can and getting the most out of our team that we can.
What about the difference maker factor, right? Like those guys that are, consistent point of game players or more so come playoff time. And obviously every team would love to have them. There's not many of them, but in your tracking over time, Eric, did you notice like just the difference of a game breaker and maybe that's one of the most necessities that you need if you want to win a cup?
Yeah. I mean, those players are obviously really helpful. I would say not every team that's ever won a cup had one, but most of them did.
Yes.
I think it makes it a lot easier to build the best roster you can when you start with a couple guys who are just transcendent. And the less of that absolute top tier talent you have, the more perfect you have to be building out the rest of the roster. And the more you need every player to hit the most they're capable of. If you're one of these teams that has 2 of the 5 best players in the game, the other players on the team can take a night off here or there and trust that those guys are going to carry them. And on a team that doesn't have that kind of talent, those guys need to give it their all every night because you need every player pitching in. You can't count on someone else to carry you if you don't have that kind of talent. So, it adds complication for sure. But I don't think it's an absolute requirement.
Okay. Eric Tulsky joins us, GM of the Carolina Hurricanes. And Eric, you've negotiated, assistant GMs negotiate a lot of the contracts in different organizations over time. Obviously, now you're the GM. You'll be heavily involved in them as well. I was looking earlier at the goaltending position. And since Vasilevsky signed at $9.5 million in the summer of 2015, no goalie signed for more than 8.5. So the market, for whatever reason, for that position has changed. In negotiations with agents, how much does market comparisons factor in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, it matters a lot. Both sides need to feel like they're getting a fair deal. And a lot of how you decide what's fair is what did other players get and how did they compare? It's no different from you buy a house and when they go to do the appraisal, they start by saying, what are other houses in the neighborhood? Which ones have a little more square footage, which ones have a little bit bigger lot, and you make those adjustments and you say, you know what, I think this is about the right number for this house. Players, it's more complicated because it's not as simple to just write down the square footage or whatever. But it's still fundamentally, you need everybody to feel like, I get how we arrived at this. It seems like it's reasonable compared to the market. Nobody's going to feel like they got screwed, and you can move on and be happy and get ready to start playing games.
And Eric, I'm going to add, I don't expect you to give away the caramel secret or anything in this one, but I respect your opinion. You're a pretty smart guy. When you look at the goaltending position, there seems to be some volatility there, maybe more than other positions from one year to the next. And I know some of it's maybe dependent on the environment that they play in, as far as, chances given up and high danger chances, etc. But in all of your studying over the years, do you have any answers to why the position is so volatile?
Yeah, I mean, it's fundamentally, we're trying to tell the difference between a guy who stops the puck 91 out of 100 times and a guy who stops the puck 92 out of 100 times. And that's not a big difference, right? It's just not easy to tell that difference. And if you had a puck stopping robot that was programmed to stop the puck 92% of the time, and you take 100 shots at it, sometimes it'll end up stopping 88 of them, and sometimes it'll end up stopping 96 of them, because that's just how sort of rolling the dice works over a large number of random trials. And on top of that, you have the added variability of maybe the shooter had a perfect shot, maybe the D let up a big chance, maybe the guy was a little bit injured and not playing his best. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on top of that basic randomness. It just gets really hard to tell the difference between 91% and 92%. And so guys have good years and bad years that make them look, anywhere from great to mediocre, depending on how things go for them.
And so has your evaluation had to change as offense goes up? And even like the 92 is now a 91 or a 90 rather than 91 and 92.
Yeah, I was thinking that as I said it, that I've always said 91 and 92 when I give that answer. And you're right that it's closer to 90 and 91 now. Yeah. I mean, look, things change. And I think teams have gotten more sophisticated and more creative about the way they create their chances. And they're putting more stress on goalies to make saves than they used to have. And that's part of the natural evolution of the game.
Eric, always a pleasure to talk to you. Continued success with the Hurricanes, and we'll see you at the rink tomorrow. Have a great day.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
You betcha. That's Eric Tulsky, the GM of the Hurricanes. Bright. I really like that answer. It's true, though. And he's right. It was for the longest time, 920 was but now there's more offense. And so you almost have to tweak and say, well, we're looking now for 91 out of 100 and a guy who's 91 out of 100 or a guy who's 90 out of 100. And when you put it that way, you're like, well, that's not much of a difference. But over time, that's a 900 save percentage or a 910 save percentage. And people view it significantly different.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, he's definitely an interesting guy. His journey to get to where he's getting to, and the analytics side is such a fascinating way to look at the game. And it'll be interesting to see the type of success that he has, because the NHL is obviously, I think, could be a little bit of a copycat league, right? So does he have some success and are able, to kind of look at, other GMs and other hockey guys look at the game a little bit different.
Yeah. So there you have it. Eric Tulsky, GM of the Hurricanes. Big shout out to Bradley for booking that one. Appreciate it. We'll come back. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown. We got loads of texts at 833-401-1440 in our email inbox, 833-401-1440. We'll return. It is the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine. You can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
In 1973, deep in the basement of an Edmonton family home, an elite team of specialized forces came together to form Action Electrical.
Action Electrical Divisions assembled.
Projects team reporting.
Service team reporting.
Testing team reporting.
Energy team reporting.
Supercharged with skills in their electrical fields and grounded by strong family values. Facing an electrical menace, call on the men and women of Action. operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
I'm Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
And I'm Zach Hyman.
And when we're not making juicy, sweet passes
or having my goals disallowed,
we're working for Legacy Heating and Cooling.
You know, guys used to call me a plumber.
And now they call you an HVAC technician.
Nice.
Hey, guys, you're not here to install furnaces. You're here to sing the jingle.
Oh.
Well.
Okay. Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
No payments and no interest for 1 year from qualified installers. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Orangesicle, the Marathon, and the Original, made with oranges, bananas, strawberries, strawberry sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit femalesuperleague.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Kids Sports 6th Annual Jason Gregor Pizza Pigout. Come try the best pizza Edmonton and area has to offer this Thursday at 6 p.m. Get your tickets at jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
Look good, feel good, play good. It's the Jason Gregor Show. Thanks for listening to Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Little sandstorm for you on a lovely Monday afternoon. How are you? Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. We're going to talk a little NFL coming up right away. We've got Alan May joining us later on. Ovi inching closer to the record. Scored, he's got a few goals. We got Woodley coming by. He's fired up today talking goaltending. So, should be great. I really enjoyed that interview with Eric Tulsky. If you miss any parts of the show, you can always get it wherever you get your podcasts or go to jasongregor.com, and every individual interview is right there on the main page. Pretty simple. Let's talk a little football now. Our NFL report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, where the rates never change. Your furnace conks out tonight or on the weekend, call them. They'll fix it. No overtime charges. That's how you build a legacy at Legacy Heating.ca. Brian Diardo from CBS joins us to talk NFL and some more crushing injuries for different reasons for teams. But Ayuk is out of the season now for the 49ers. Deebo Samuel, now he was sick. McCaffrey's probably not coming back till week 12. Do you think they have enough, Brian, to stay in the playoff hunt until McCaffrey gets back?
Well, hey, guys, it's always good to be on with you. You always tease me before you have me on with this hockey talk, and you get me all thinking about my nostalgic childhood and all the great goaltenders I had growing up. Maybe I'll hang up and listen. You guys can discuss whether or not the 90s was the greatest era for goaltending, but that's not why you have me on. But anyway.
Hey, we can do it anytime. I love it.
Oh, man, you just had me going back. And I will say this. The 30 for 30 that ESPN did on the Red Wings Avalanche 90s rivalry is just, have you seen it? It's phenomenal.
Buddy, I love that one. Is unbelievable, right? They're interviewing McCarty and he has some great insights, and Claude, like, that one was phenomenal because it was two great teams in an era where, you could spend whatever you wanted. You had two owners that were willing to spend everything. And like each team had like 7 or 8 Hall of Famers, and they had a few jerks on each team, which made it even better.
Only thing that irked me about that was at one point, I think someone said in the 96 finals, well, we always kind of understood whoever won was going to win the whole thing. Well, I mean, the Penguins had Lemieux and Yager and Ron Francis and Tom Barrasso. So, as a Penguin fan, I didn't, that wasn't my recollection, but no, it was an amazing documentary. But yeah, on the 49ers, you know what? It's so funny because recently I did a show before yesterday, and I said, I think they're going to be okay, but they can't afford any more big injuries. And then yesterday happened. And, I think that there's more than just the injuries. There was a report that Kyle Shanahan actually lectured Brock Purdy at his locker for like 10 minutes. And Brock just stood and stared at him like a middle school kid that got caught, doing something he shouldn't be doing. And so I wonder if there's other things going on behind the scenes there, and the frustration of just never getting to the absolute top and winning the Super Bowl is starting to catch up to them. I don't think so. I think the answer is no. And the reason why is I just think that parity has taken over the NFL. Teams are more even now than they ever have been. And I think that the Niners calling card and their strength for so long has been their depth, but that depth now has been challenged to a point that we haven't seen, especially from the Niners since I think 4 years ago. They were slammed with a ton of injuries right after they got to this first Super Bowl against Kansas City. And then, right now, I mean, I'm to be honest, I didn't know some of the receivers they had in the game yesterday. And Juwan Jennings is still really good, and they still have some good pieces, and Shanahan's system is good. And they don't play in the hardest of divisions, but, Seattle bounced back. They're 4-3. Arizona can always sneak up on you. The Rams can always sneak up on you. They're not going away even with all of their injuries. I don't know. I mean, they're 3-4. 2 years ago they made a run when they started 3-4, but that's when they got McCaffrey. So to me, I wouldn't entirely rule them out, but I think at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they just missed the playoffs. I still think they'll make it. They're certainly not the front runner anymore. I think at this point now, they're a team that's just clawing to make the playoffs. So no, I wouldn't rule them out, but they've certainly fallen down the NFC pecking order for sure.
What did you think of the Buffalo Bills game with Amari Cooper getting a touchdown? What did does that add a different dimension to their team with Josh Allen? Because you look pretty excited to play with them. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought that Brandon Beane that was just a phenomenal acquisition, and everybody was so transfixed on Devontae Adams where he was going to go. And then that same day they swing that trade kind of out of nowhere. And we saw Devontae Adams last night against the Steelers was kind of invisible. 3 catches on 9 targets, 30 yards, no receptions in the second half against Pittsburgh. And Cooper was, as you alluded to, he was instrumental in that game. Had a touchdown, 66 receiving yards. I think that's huge. And I think the really cool part, if you're a Bills fan, is Keon Coleman, who had a slow start to his rookie season, is now starting to come on. He's been coming on the last couple of weeks. Him, Dalton Kincaid, last year's first round pick at tight end. I still don't love their running game. I have. I think they need more of a power element to it. And I think that would take some of the pressure off of Josh Allen. But no, I think that was a great acquisition. I think that was exactly what the Bills needed. That's exactly what the Steelers need, is that second receiver. A lot of teams could use one. And so that might, when you look back, you might say that was the best acquisition, pre-deadline acquisition that we saw in the NFL. So I still wouldn't put them at the top of my AFC list or my top contenders to take down the Chiefs, because you got to have the Chiefs number one. But, that keeps them in the top 4. That keeps them in the top 4 with the Texans and the Ravens, and keeps them above, other teams like the Steelers and Cincinnati at this point.
Brian Diardo joins us. Brian, when you look at the Minnesota Vikings and what Sam Darnold has done, and really what, they went head to head, them in Detroit. I thought it was a great game yesterday, kind of came down to missing a 2-pointer. Although, I don't think Minnesota is going to love their last 4 minutes of that game. But where do you come out on the Vikings? And do you have Detroit as the clear number 1 NFC team? And if so, how much is the gap between them and the rest?
It's so funny. I knew you'd ask me about this, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to say. I mean, you have to put Detroit ahead of them. They won straight up. As good as Darnold has played, I'm going to take Jared Goff. And MVP conversation. And again, I was kind of doing some prep work before I got on the show. I was writing down my MVP candidates. I didn't even include Goff, but you kind of have to, right? Yes. Goff's it's like that movie, that old 90s movie, She's All That, where it's that girl that is kind of in the corner that you don't suspect that she wins homecoming queen or whatever. Like, if some of your audience knows what I'm talking about, but that's kind of Jared Goff, right? He's just kind of that cast off that just keeps showing up and keeps getting better. And him and Amon-Ra St. Brown have like a Montana Rice kind of combination. And see, their running game, that's what I always wanted for Josh Allen in Buffalo. So yeah, you would have to put the Lions ahead of them. But here's the funny thing. I think I'd probably put Green Bay ahead of Detroit. I don't think Green Bay is better than Detroit, but I think they could beat Detroit because we've seen what Jordan Love can do when he gets hot. We saw it in the playoffs last year. We've seen it in moments this year. And it's a shame he got hurt in week 1. That kind of hindered his progress a little bit. But he's kind of that sneaky guy that if they play each other, especially in the playoffs, it's like, I almost think I would go with Green Bay because they've got just enough weapons everywhere. They don't have a lot of household names, but their system is really good. They don't beat themselves. Josh Jacobs has had a really strong season for them. They spread you out at receiver. There's not one guy that you can really focus on. So, again, yeah, I'd probably put Detroit number 1 in the NFC now with Minnesota and Green Bay right under them. But I think Green Bay can beat both of those teams. And I think those 3 teams have probably kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And I'd kind of put the Niners like right under them. But for me, Detroit last year, they their secondary was a huge weakness, and they've only gotten better. Brian Branch is a really good second-year safety, had an interception yesterday. And the pass rush was pretty good, even though Aiden Hutchinson was gone. But to me, that's the big question mark with this team. Can they finish games when it's tight? Because they couldn't in San Francisco last year. And are they going to get a pass rusher to come in and potentially replace Aiden Hutchinson? So they're my number 1. But like I said, I absolutely could see Minnesota beating them. And I could see, again, Green Bay is kind of my sneaky team in the NFC.
Where do you see the Jets? Watching them play yesterday, Aaron Rodgers, whether he got the coach fired or he didn't, they got a new coach. He brings in a target that he wanted to bring in. What did you think of his game and where are they at?
So I had to write the preview before the Steelers-Jets game. And initially I picked the Jets and I didn't feel comfortable about it. So I said, all right, I'm going to take a shower. When I come back, I'll decide if I'm going to stay with it. And I changed it and flipped it to Pittsburgh. And my reasoning why was, even though they have a better team on paper, even though they have 2 future Hall of Famers now with Adams and Rodgers and these emerging young guys like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, if you're a bad team, you're a bad team. And I just felt like everybody in the media, by and large, we kept giving them these passes, right? And it kind of reminded me of ironically, right, like Rodgers and Favre. Favre obviously was Rodgers' predecessor in Green Bay. Like, it kind of reminded me, this team reminds me of like the 2010 Vikings. They were coming off the NFC Championship game. They also started 2-5, but people kept kind of saying, okay, well, they're starting slow, but we'll see. And then they never turned around. They finished 6-10. And I kind of feel like that's the current Jets. Like, yeah, they have all this talent and all this stuff, but like they keep losing. And I think there's a few easy reasons why. Their offensive line just is not good enough. Especially to protect a 40-year-old quarterback who's not mobile anymore, doesn't want to get hit. And their run defense has just not been good. They allowed 100 yards to the Bills' backup running back last week. Najee Harris just shredded them yesterday. And I think if they have any kind of adversity, like last night, injuries hit their secondary, they just wilter. And but the number one thing to me is they do things that bad teams do. Like the second interception last night, Garrett Wilson, the ball just fell right off of his chest plate and into the defender. And that's just stuff that when you're a bad team, you just do things like that. So, it was funny because they interviewed the Steelers' undrafted rookie, had his first 2 career interceptions last night against Rodgers. They asked him how he did it, and he said, we know where he's going to throw the ball. When the middle's open like that, that's where he goes. So it's like Rodgers has now kind of become the old magician. Everybody knows his tricks now. He's like David Copperfield stayed around a little too long. So, yeah, it's not good. I'll just summarize everything I'm saying with not good. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that this is, it might get a little bit better. They might rally to go 8-9 or 7-10, but they're not a very good team. I think there's a lot of finger pointing, and it hasn't unfolded the way me or a lot of people thought it would.
Do you think the Bengals can get back and make the playoffs?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, their offense, again, I'm going to date myself. It reminds me a lot of like the 81 Chargers when they had Dan Fouts, they had Kellen Winslow, who's a great tight end, Wes Chandler.
Yeah.
They had all these really good receivers, and you couldn't double anybody. And it was almost like you had a cheat code or something. And that's what happened to the Bengals when T. Higgins came back from his injury. There's a receiver open every single play. If you watch a Bengals game, you'll see someone open every play. And so when you have that element of your offense available to you all the time, it's going to be very hard to beat you. That defense has certainly gotten better, really good the last 2 weeks. They've got a little bit healthier, especially on the defensive line. They've gotten a lot better at gang tackling. They still don't have great pass rush. Trey Hendrickson's great, but they don't have much else behind him. But I think they're good enough. Now, this Sunday's game is huge because Philadelphia's coming to Cincinnati. They seem like they're hitting their stride after their slow start. They're getting healthy now with A.J. Brown back. So the answer is yes. I absolutely think Cincinnati's a player because when you look at it again, their schedule's middle of the road. They've got another game against Cleveland. And if they can win this game, I think that, I would be very, very, very surprised if Cincinnati is not a playoff team.
Brian Diardo joins us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. One last one, Brian. You look at, do you think the Browns, now that Watson is the worst contract in NFL history and good karma, it's going to continue to look that way. But do you see any fashion, because even if he sits out and he's on the IR, my understanding is they don't get any cap savings because of it. So they got how many more years of hell left with that deal? And is there there's nothing to solve it, is there? Would they be better off just to cut him loose and just eat the money and go somewhere else?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's, 100%. That was the easiest question I've gotten so far. Yeah. I think here's the thing. If the Broncos were willing to part with Russell Wilson and eat $39 million, and again, I know that's not the amount that the Browns would have to eat up. You would do this with Watson. And then, the broadcast yesterday, I thought that the color commentator said it best. He made, before the injury, he's just making things so hard for himself. It's like the game has just gotten too fast for him. He's trying to overcompensate for something. He's a mess as far as, what his on-field product. And it wasn't all him. I mean, their offensive line was kind of in shambles and there were some other things going on. Nick Chubb wasn't healthy and all that, but yeah, I mean, his play is just really, really deteriorated. And then obviously there's all the other intangible things that made that contract awful. And I know your listeners know, and you guys know. So, I mean, isn't media or football? Football's a business, right? And at the end, or sports. And at the end of the day, it's all about PR. Are they going to take a PR hit if they release Deshaun Watson? No.
God,
I mean, no one. They won't take a hit. Financially, that would be a painful, but I think at this point, Browns fans would say, okay, you guys messed up badly, but let's not compound a mistake by continuing to just going down that road.
Yes.
So, Jimmy Haslam, it's interesting. He owns the local team, the Columbus Crew, who are very good in the Major League Soccer, but he doesn't own the Browns nearly the same way as far as success. And I think it's going to come down to how stubborn he's going to be. I mean, how much worse does it need to be for him to just accept what is? So, I think they absolutely should do it. It just depends on if Haslam decides to just admit that they were wrong and to go in a different direction.
Brian, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. Enjoy the double Monday nighter.
Yeah, I'm going to get my coffee ready. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it as always.
There you go. That's Brian Diardo from CBS. We're going to talk goaltending with him next time. I love it. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. And they're celebrating 25 years. What a great success story. Started locally, Dale, and you just fantastic story. And they're bringing back some of your faves. The Marathon, the Original, and the Creamsicle. Get them now. Download the Boosters Reward app. Order it today.
The Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have signed 2024 first-round draft pick Sam O'Reilly to a 3-year entry-level contract. The Oilers traded back to the first round to select O'Reilly with a 32nd overall pick in 7 games so far. The 18-year-old has 2 goals, 3 helpers with 6 penalty minutes. San Jose Sharks forward Matthew Celebrini considered to be out week to week with a lower body injury. That came from Mike Greer earlier today. Greer added the team will give another update on Celebrini's injury after 2 weeks. And Tua Tagovailoa will return to practice this week for the Miami Dolphins. He was placed on the IR after he suffered his concussion in week 2, third of his NFL career. On the field tonight should be a great one as the Ravens in Tampa take on the Bucks. Kickoff 6:15. Then at 7 o'clock, you got the Cardinals hosting the 3-2 LA Chargers. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Washington Capitals analyst Alan May and ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Ready to tackle your toughest tasks? Edmonton Kubota has you covered with the all-new M8 Series tractor with powerful 181 and 201 horsepower engines, Cummins power, and loader readiness. It's built to handle any challenge. And now, for a limited time, get a free 4-year extended warranty when you drive off with an M8 Series tractor. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Visit Edmonton Kubota today and power up your productivity. Edmonton Kubota, where power meets performance.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction and sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions, take 1 for Gene Principe. Are you ready, Gene?
Ready? I'm not just here to make a thermo a couple of bucks. I'd never just microphone it in.
Take 1.
Tall Legacy, Tall Legacy.
Nice.
Boom! I'm a musical genius.
Legacy's going to love this for furnace season.
What's not to love with no interest and no Principe payments for 1 year?
Are you always like this?
Yep, unlike a furnace, I have no filter.
Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Diablo Boots in Canada West. 2 great names in work and cowboy boots. For over 60 years, Diablo has been selling the best-made Canadian boots. Diablo has boots from sizes 6E to size 15 EE, just for you. Why buy boots made in China like Ariat, Justin, or Red Wing, when Diablo has the best quality for less, made in Canada? Diablo has work and cowboy boots with replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So, save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard, on the east side of Save On Foods. Hurry in today for best selection. A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. If I have to plead for your sympathy, I don't mind. 'cause you mean.
$4.10. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook, on X, Instagram, sports1440.ca. As always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. And if you want to try it, use the promo code Gregor50, and you'll get a free $50 play in the month of October. Good luck. Also, tomorrow, 22 million. Lotto Max. Get your tickets. PlayAlberta.ca. We're going to get to Oil Report momentarily. But, you sit here during the commercial break and all of a sudden you've got the two potential Afro-wearing Connor Halley and Sean Brown discussing the benefits of Connor's got a haircut and Brown's like, yeah, but then you could, when your hair puffs out. I'm just like, what kind of conversation is going on here? You got it, because both of you have like natural curl. Like, did you never permed your hair? Did you?
No, it's just naturally curly.
Connor, did you ever get a perm?
No, never did the perm.
So you guys have both natural curly hair?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, can you stick one of those like Afro combs? I don't even know what this is called. What's it called? Pick?
Oh yeah. I do that at home actually, just for fun.
And just hold it in there?
I was only keeping it growing just because, to be honest with you, I noticed that Connor, the last few times that I've been here, is kind of growing it out. So why not?
I never had the Afro pick, but in Science 10, somebody was throwing a paper airplane and it got stuck in my hair. No joke. Yeah. Out the side of my hat, like a perfect shot, just stuck in my hair. So yeah, it happens.
Oh, nice. Like, how much did you cut off? Let's see it. Oh, geez, that is. It's getting ready for fatherhood.
Yeah,
He's not gonna have time.
Yeah, I don't want to look scrubby.
Yeah, it doesn't want to scare the kid.
Don't want him to judge me. So
yeah.
Clean it up. But there's going to be a lot of pictures at that point. So
this is a conversation I think Gregor's a little jealous of, to be honest with you.
Now, I can tell you there is absolutely zero jealousy when it comes to hair growing for this guy. None. Zero. Zilch. I was telling Cons because he was complaining about certain hats he couldn't wear. I'm like, never had a problem. Couldn't wear any hat I want.
That's why I was with the fullback. Wait, what do you have? A snapback or fullback?
No, yeah, it's like
the fullback looks better.
What's the fullback? You guys call the fullback like that's the one that's fitted?
Yeah.
Oh, it's called a fullback.
I've never heard that terminology, but it fits.
I just call it fitted hat.
Yeah, fitted hat.
It's got a size. When the hair gets a little out of control, it doesn't fit quite as good. So that's when I usually resort to snapbacks. But
But you just don't want it too long where it's like when you got the snapback and you kind of got like the man bun
coming out the back.
Out.
You ever wore a ponytail?
Me? A pony? No. Could you imagine?
Well, I just thought you might try just with a little band, just like that small little nubbin.
No.
Didn't want two of them, eh? Oh, nice. Let's get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars. Edmonton.com. The new 2025 XC90s and XC90 plug-in hybrid models are in stock now. Take one for a test drive. You won't regret it at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. The Oilers, day off yesterday. They stayed overnight in Dallas. Interesting after Saturday. Might have had a team get-together. Probably should have. And then they flew home yesterday and didn't skate. They had a practice today. Draisaitl and McDavid were centering their own lines again, which is kind of expected to me. You got Skinner and Arvidsson with Draisaitl, Hyman and Nugent Hopkins with McDavid. The bottom six, Podkolzin was skating with Janmark and Perry, but I don't see that lasting. And Janmark hasn't played center forever. I guess he could do it, but I could see Podkolzin. I actually really liked his game. I thought that was his best game. Really used his speed, went to the net a lot, generated some chances. I could see him getting a look potentially with Henrique and Brown, or maybe they just put Janmark back there and away you go. That'd probably be just as easy. But, I don't have much issue with the play of the bottom six right now. The top six has to get going 5-on-5, and they have to show a pulse on the power play if they're going to want to have some success. They've got a Carolina and Pittsburgh teams coming to town this week. So, Lots of time for some practice if you want to sharpen up some skills, and neither one, like Carolina's 2-2 in their 4 games. The Penguins are 3-4. So it's not like you're coming in on facing off against the Rangers or somebody who's rolling. Like this is, the Oilers, their defensive game seems to be pretty comfortable. They got to find a way to start producing some offense. It's just that simple.
I kind of like the fact that Skinner's up there because with Skinner and Draisaitl and Arvidsson, there's a chance, obviously Skinner's probably feeling pretty good about his game and he should, and I think anytime you can kind of get someone with a little bit of confidence, who knows? I haven't seen enough from Arvidsson right now, and maybe this is a little bit of an injection. And obviously, anytime you're playing with McDavid, there's always an opportunity for guys to put up points and start to feel good about their game. So Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there's a pretty good fit. I mean, I like it, right? It's an opportunity. This is what, with the Oilers and the depth that they have allows, the coach to kind of make some changes, and it still, adds a lot of balance, I think, to your lineup.
How long would it take for you? It's 6 games before you would make a change for your first unit power play. How many more? Like they've been 5 years. It's the best power play in the league for 5 years. How long do you give them? Because like Brownie, it's not like they're, at 20%. They've got 1 goal. They're like the 3rd worst power play in the NHL. And it's not that they just have 1 goal. They're not even creating many good chances.
Yeah. Well, I think for Knoblauch as a coach, it sends a strong message when you're able to coach and shake things up. Right. So the timing of it is probably for me right now.
Okay.
I mean, like I said earlier, I think they, have earned themselves some rope and opportunity, but right now we're talking 6 games. Good players and all players and competition throughout the lineup is important, no matter who you are. Right. And I think that's important for Skinner. I think it, to me, is very important for Darnell Nurse. We want him to play a physical in your face game. And I think he's done a pretty good job of it lately. I wouldn't even be disappointed to see him switch spots with Bouchard. I really think that, it goes a long way when guys know that if they're doing what's expected of them, that they get rewarded. And it also goes a long way, to know that you can't get comfortable no matter who you are. I think at the end of the day, it'll all shake out in the way that it's supposed to be. But there are opportunities throughout the year and different times where you can kind of, as a coach, show guys to be like, hey, don't get too comfortable.
Yeah.
No matter who you are. And like I said, I mean, I just remember when I played, the amount of awkward, uncomfortable conversations that you would have, especially early, because now every coach and every team is trying to get guys to buy in, to their roles and what's expected of them. Right. And so as you're having those conversations, this is an opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? We have had some tough conversations and you are delivering, and I'm going to put you in a spot. I'm sure Mark, right, deserved to be moved up in the lineup. Guys like playing with him. He was playing, he's playing in a way that it's like, reward this guy. That's important to have.
And Knoblauch, we saw it earlier, right? And he sat down Draisaitl for a brief time.
Yeah.
That he's not afraid to make a hard decision. And that's why I wonder when. I still think he's going to give the power play. I would guess, because the thing is, the last week they've really had no practice time. So they haven't spent a lot of time on the power play. Right. So today was kind of like their first practice, because think about it. They played Philly, then they had a day, then they traveled, and they played on Thursday. So they flew on travel day, then to Nashville. Now they did have a practice last Friday in Dallas, but that was really only the one practice in the week, because the weekend before, remember, they played 3 days. They had a day off on the Friday. They had a day off on the Sunday. So they didn't have any practice then. And one practice sometimes can't just solve everything, right? Their defensive game's on par right now. It's been pretty good. So you want to keep hammering that. But I could see him. I would say he would give them tomorrow's game for sure, first unit power play. And maybe if they're 0 for 3 and now it's a 4th power play and they haven't done anything, then maybe we see a tweak there. But it might not happen until Pittsburgh. And if they win, they'll probably get more. But if they lose that game and their power play is 0 for again, Brownie, I think we could see a change, because they might have to. I have to look at their days off, but they might have one day scheduled off. I know that Wednesday they have their big autograph signing here at the mall from 6 till 8. So I don't know does that mean they have a less skate one of the days? I have no idea. But so Wednesday can be a day off, and rarely do you give a day off before the game, right? Like when you're being at home in between. So they could have some practice time this week. And I think if the PP struggles against Carolina, I think that's when they might look to make a change.
Really, I mean, just for the sake of the morale of your team, do you not feel like their second unit power play is capable?
Well, there's the other question, because we have it from Fred, not Fred, and Mike. A lot of people say, guys, why not just start the second unit for one? And you know what? To start one power play, because it doesn't. If McDavid's on the ice for a minute, the penalty's drawn, they still start every time. So you're now one power play goal all year long. I could see the coach saying second unit start. That in itself might be enough to say competition on, right?
Yeah.
He might do that first rather than switch to, I could actually see that.
And I don't see that as a negative. It's not a shot. This isn't something players need to know. They got to be uncomfortable, and you're trying to keep them as uncomfortable, I think, as you can throughout the season with, respectfully, right? But I mean, good players want to be coached. Good players want to be held to a high standard, right? So, I mean, Skinner's used to playing on the power play, needs to play on the power play, needs those touches and deserves those touches, right? And so with Arvidsson and, Henrique, and it's not a bad thing. It's just what the team needs.
And the other thing that we have to look at is they're not getting a lot of power play opportunities. So they're only, what are they? They haven't scored in the Chicago's the game where they scored the power play goal. So it's been 4 games, but they've only had, I think, 11 power plays in 4 games. So an 0 for 11 stretch, still long. And I wonder if that plays a factor as well into it, a little bit, where they look and say, okay, because the Calgary game, I think they only had 1, right? Then they had 4 in each of their 2 victories, and then 2 against Dallas. So I wonder if that plays a little bit of a role, that they haven't had amount of it. But I have no problem starting the second unit at some point. I think it would just say, hey guys, competition on.
And you look at Hyman, I know that he hasn't, produced and put up some numbers, but where I look at his game and, do you look to see him, is he in the right areas and playing to his identity, right? And he's in front of the net, he's causing havoc, he's uncomfortable, he's hard, he's keeping, he's getting his stick on pucks and getting in on the forecheck. He's still playing and effective in a way that I really think it's going to come. It's going to come for him. But, like I said, it's, what concerns me is that when things aren't going overly well for them, and it's been about a minute 30 or just over a minute, and the puck gets dumped out, I think they got to take that opportunity to get off and get the next line up there while there's still some time for those guys to get on and actually do something with it. And when you're getting 20, 30, as a player, when you're hopping off and you get 20 seconds, you're kind of like, gee, like it makes it a little bit tough.
Oh, well, that's why you could start them once and just say, hey, we're going to number 2. Let's see what happens. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Alan May joins us next as the quest continues for greatness.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
New Jizz Nuggets. This is New Jizz Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, Zachary Martin Hyman. Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge.
Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of New Jizz Nuggets.
For 5 days only, the President's Sale is on at The Brick.
got the best offers of the season, like up to 50% off mattresses, up to $800 off sectionals, and up to 65% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Also, when you buy more, you save more, up to an additional $1,000 when you buy 2 or more select major kitchen appliances. Plus, prepare for the holidays with our price protection guarantee. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
When was the last time your electricity and natural gas provider made you feel like this? Low rates, no strings attached, year-round perks, and local energy experts who always have your back. With Encore by EPCOR. Find that carefree energy feeling at encore.epcor.com/carefree.
Customers are free to purchase natural gas or electricity services from a retailer of their choice. For a list of retailers, visit ucahelps.alberta.ca or call 310-4822 toll-free.
Have you heard of anything more chilling than frozen beef? Until November 3rd, get an always fresh, never frozen Dave's single from Wendy's for only $4. Nothing scary about that. Taxes extra at participating Wendy's until November 3rd. Terms and conditions apply.
As a Triangle Rewards member, get even more value during Canadian Tire's biggest tire sale of the year. Save up to 25% off. And from October 19th to 21st, get 20 times Canadian Tire money on select tire purchases. Conditions apply. Details online.
.427, Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where 100% of the revenue stays right here in the lovely province of Alberta, PlayAlberta.ca. Doubleheader Monday nighter. Not sure why. And the one's at 6:15, the other one's at 7 o'clock. Obviously, the NFL looks at their numbers, and there's got to be a rhyme and a reason. But it's amazing. They can play 2 games nationally at the same time. They don't start the second game at 10 Eastern. Huh. Just should point that out for the NHL. Anywho, let's go in the room, brought to you by Action Electrical and Electrical Preventative Maintenance. For commercial buildings, highly important. Infrared testing, energized and de-energized testing from the most diversified electrical contractor in Alberta. It's actionelectrical.net. As we are joined by a former NHLer, a longtime analyst for the Washington Capitals, good friend of the show, Alan May, joins us. Alan, welcome back, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it, guys.
Well, it's been early on, but I really liked the changes that Washington made. They made significant moves in the offseason. Al, I know it's super early, the preseason. I'm not even sure if you can get anything from the preseason, but, there's a few games in the regular season. They're 3-1. And, so far, so good. What do you make of the changes? What has been the most noticeable difference for you with this new roster?
Well, one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that, a lot of people didn't give the Caps credit for how they structured their team over the offseason. They had to say goodbye to Nick Backstrom last year, basically said goodbye to TJ Oshie this summer. Kuznetsov they got rid of at the end of last season. Then somehow, miraculously, they got out of the cap hit, their half of it anyways, along with Carolina, by him wanting to opt out and get back to the KHL. there's a lot of things that change with this team. There were 7 new players in the lineup, and I thought the Caps did a masterful job in June and July. June with the trades, July with free agency, and slotting and getting this team kind of picked where they wanted it to. And, you know, it started with Pierre-Luc Dubois, and a lot of people were very skeptical of that. And, you know, I was excited because I think, you know, they were going to give him a first-class treatment here. He was going to become one of the top 2 centermen, no matter what. No matter what, that was going to happen. And more than likely, they're going to pair him with a guy who's the exact same size as him and Tom Wilson. And I thought that was a great slotting of players. And Dylan Strome was fit in well with Ovechkin the last few years, and just how they put the team together. And then you go look at defense. They made that trade on was it July 1st? Jensen on a 3rd rounder for Jacob Chychrun, who's fit in like a 20-year pro with John Carlson. They've looked very good. And by getting Jacob Chychrun here, what it's allowed is the Capitals to slot everyone down. Players getting too much ice time in specific roles. Maybe Martin Ferravari had been playing in the first line left D, and it's just too much. It was, I think, over his head too many times. He could play there short term, and then moving Rasmus Sandin down in the lineup. Whether those guys are second or third pair, it just keeps them off the ice and at the appropriate minutes for what they bring to a hockey game. And then Matt Roy, unfortunately, only played that first game or part of it, and then went out with a lower body injury. But he fit in well. So it's just a matter of getting everyone on the same page with the system. I think what we've seen so far, they're not playing to not lose like they had to do last year. They had to really dummy the game down. They won close games and lost big when they lost because they just couldn't score goals. And so now it's a lot different look of a team. They're able to do more things offensively. And I know it's early, but I've liked what I've seen a lot in the last week.
Give me your first impressions 4 games in for Dubois.
I think he's been excellent. When you look at what he and Tom Wilson and Connor McMichael have been able to do, they've supplied the majority of the offense on this team. You know, mainly Tom Wilson has. But Wilson and Dubois have been so good on the forecheck and dominating the puck on the wall. And then you get Connor McMichael, who looks like a legit NHL player this year. The 3 of them have fit in very well. Dubois learned how to play defense properly without the puck properly in Columbus and then in Winnipeg. I think everything last year in LA, and I throw it out the window because of how he was treated, what was going on there behind the scenes. Was it actually his fault what was going on? But he was going to get a clean slate here. The clean slate has been very good for him. He looks excellent. He's on the first unit power play. He's able to kill penalties. He's getting out there as I would say they're the first line right now. He and Tom Wilson, and they've played excellent. They played a very sound brand of hockey, and it's just a matter of time until he captures everything with this system, is able to start adding offense on a more regular basis. I still expect him to have career numbers in every category when this season is over.
What do you see? I mean, Alexander Ovechkin's not getting any younger. He's getting older. He's still obviously playing at a high level. What have you seen from when he's come into the league and where he's at now? Because I know when I played with some guys towards the end of their career, Scott Stevens, Igor Larionov, I was always amazed at how well they took care of themselves. What do you see in Alex Ovechkin as he's kind of, getting older and been in the league a little longer?
Well, I think the guy that came in the league the first 5 to 10 years could do anything he wanted, and he could put anything in his body, and he could eat 100 hot dogs. He could do what he wanted, 1,000 sodas, and he'd still play phenomenal. He's still the fastest player in the league, the most explosive player. But Father Time's kind of beat up that body that he's no one's ever thrown more hits in the National Hockey League since they've been tracking it. I don't think anyone's taken as many shots. But you look where he is in the goal scoring department. What I do like from him so far this season, which I didn't like last year, I was always taught when you're struggling, you look to your legs, and his legs weren't moving. He didn't have his hands last year until about game 50, 52, something like that. And this year we're seeing great legs out of him, better than at any point last season. We're seeing way better hands. He's had his hands right from the get-go so far, and he's playing right wing. He's still having a little trouble with the traffic of, basically being a left winger 35 years of his hockey career and, 20 in the National Hockey League. He still creeps over to left, but late in the game on the right side, he's been a lot better. But I'm loving what I'm seeing out of him right now, because last year was somewhat painful in the first start of the year. And then I didn't like his playoffs at all. I don't think he did. Nobody did. But he's really had his legs going. And once again, playing within the system. The power play is not rolling, but it's had some great looks. But I really like his 5-on-5 game right now. When last year, I was so worried when he didn't have his hands last year. And from the start down, his passes are on point. His puck handles, his touches, everything is far better, far superior than it was last year, maybe even the year before. So as long as he stays healthy, I'm expecting him to have a great season. And when it's all said and done, I'll think he'll be in the mid-30s in the goal-scoring department, unless he pops off in 1 or 2 games where he gets 3 or 4. Then all of a sudden, I think the hunger will be there, and he might shoot a little more, take a few more chances. But right now, he's playing a very sound brand of hockey, and I think that helps everyone on this squad.
Alan May joins us, analyst for the Washington Capitals. Al, you mentioned switching positions. When you're the greatest goal scorer the league's ever seen, why are they switching positions at this stage of his career?
I would say it has to do, one of the things that he's gotten into, and I think every defender in the league, defensive and forwards that are out there checking against him, inside the defensive zone, on the breakout, he had a tendency to put his backside to the net. He's a right shot, and he's got that ugly hockey stick. It works for him. It scored so many goals, 852 of them so far during the regular season. But inside the zone, if he's stationary, his butt is planted on the wall, and he reaches back for the puck, he can't handle it. Okay. So he wasn't getting pucks out of the zone. I think on the other side, it's the blade to the boards. He's facing up ice, and he's able to get the puck out of the board, off the boards, and he's making better plays.
Okay.
And so he's not passing through traffic because he's flat-footed. Now he's able to protect the puck and do that. And then the other night, it really paid off in Game 2 against the Vegas Golden Knights. Is late in the game when he was at the offensive zone blue line, he was just able to protect it and throw it into the hash mark and just advance the puck up the wall. And they were able to take a better forechecking posture, a better defensive posture. So I think just the little things in the game. It's a team game. He doesn't want to not be a good team in the playoffs. He wants to get his team into the playoffs. And I would say 99% of those out there had them written off to not be in the playoffs this year. I've felt with the upgrades in the roster that they would be in the playoffs, and they'd be a far better team because of the roster. I think is more stout than it was before. And I just think that he's willing to do whatever it is to help his team. You know, they rewarded him too by bringing in a better roster this season.
Yes.
So it's some payback for him too, playing out of position and doing whatever they want. And he said the other night, he said he'll play center, he'll play defense, he'll do whatever they want. He'd even play goaltender. And he just wants to get back to a good playoff run.
Al May joins us. You mentioned Roy, unfortunately, didn't even finish his first game. What's his prognosis? When he's supposed to return?
Well, yeah, I would say it's probably a 3-week injury, the way they've spoke about it. And I know what it is, but I can't say. And it's just one of those little things. It's more of a maintenance injury, and he will be back. And they just want to make sure. And I think one of the biggest things now with players is they're so finely tuned. And, when they jam their skates out there, they catch a knee. I think it feels to me like they suffer the repercussions more often now than they used to, where guys weren't so, I just think guys are so taut now. They're so tight. They're, even though they train differently, it's just that, with the basically 11 and a half months of the year working out, it's a completely different body. When I played and when Sean played, it was more like kind of a bodybuilder body, especially back in my era. The guys were built from the waist up. And now I think they're built more like a really big tennis player. And so the lower body, I feel like it suffers a lot more. I don't know if we have the same amount of shoulder injuries as the guys in my era, but it seems like it, that we had far more. And now they're more with the lower body injuries now. So I just think it's just a matter of maintenance, getting him back up to speed, and he'll be ready to roll.
You talked about Ovechkin playing in a different role and buying in and having success and just wanting to do whatever it takes to get this team back to the playoffs. It's never easy or as easy to coach and put, you're potentially one of the best players in the game in a situation that is different. It's usually it comes across. It's a lot easier to do it with your role players. What does that say about Spencer Carberry as a coach? Like, is he getting more comfortable, and how has he earned that respect and trust?
Well, I'll tell you what, Spencer Carberry will be coaching when I'm living at Shady Acres and when I'm in my 70s. And he's got a way about him. And that's why I had no doubt with Dubois that it's going to work. And he's an incredible communicator. The players, when he speaks, the players they're dying to hear what he has to say. And a lot of coaches and with you and with me, a lot of times when your coaches were honest with you, it was only on the negative side of it. He's very honest with the players and what he wants them to do. He's more of a projector of foretelling your future by you're good at this and this is what's going to happen. And he's got everyone. He's able to communicate with everyone, and he's one of those guys. If he can't get through to you, well, I don't think anyone can, because he just that's the part he's got figured out so well. He's just so well thought out. And if you see him in the post game inside the dressing room, he acknowledges so many important things in the game. It's like it's a steel trap. Nothing gets out, and he makes sure to acknowledge, a guy blocking a shot, blocking a second shot with 3 minutes left to go, and then getting the puck out of the zone. So he makes sure that every facet of the game is rewarded, and he's an excellent communicator. They don't do morning skates anymore. They're always an optional. They will be every single game this season. They've got classroom time, but it's not over the top. So I think the players really appreciate his honesty, but the positivity. And it's not like, where the players coach, where the guy just tries to sidle up to the guys. It's just the depth of his honesty is very well thought out, and the guys believe it. And when I speak with him, I don't feel like he's a fraudster. I just feel that he is so honest to his core and his coaching staff. All of these guys together last year, the team doesn't get enough credit. It was all Spencer. It was all Charlie Lindgren. But when you think of it, he had to convince everyone to dumb their game down, to just go play total defense, to turn away shots, to not take chances, and just play a really solid defensive game, because it was the only way they could win. But he did it without demeaning the players and telling them, you're no good. We can't win unless we do this. There was a way about getting it to be, we're going to be successful by playing this way right now. We've had injuries. We've had all these different things that are happening. We're leaning on John Carlson, but the honesty is what's really got him sold with each and every one of these players, because I've yet to hear one single player say one bad thing about him. And this is the start of his second year. And at some point you would thought someone would have said something, but it's been incredible for him. So it just shows that he is a quality guy. I'm telling you, we had a 50th anniversary last week. We had 70 plus alums in town, and the guys just absolutely loved being around Spencer as well when he was out socializing with us for 3 or 4 days. And they just thought, that's something about it. He's got that it thing, and he certainly does.
Al, always good to catch up with you, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. Have an awesome day.
All right. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.
There you go. That's Alan May from Washington. They're off to a 3-1 start without one of their big free agent signings on the back end. So it bodes well for them. I thought Washington too. I picked Washington to take a step up for sure after last season. The other guy we didn't talk a lot about is Dylan Strome. Since going to Washington's been a pretty good player. Back-to-back 65-point seasons. He's off to a good start again this year with 7 points in the first 4 games. And I think Dubois is going to get back to being a 70-point guy, maybe even more so. So I don't mind their team at all. I think Chikrin's what they needed on their back end to play more minutes. And so far, it's early on. Can he stay healthy? That's always a knock on him. So we'll see if it works. We'll come back. We got 5 questions and more. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, and Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It's a Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. your love for the game, and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Centre's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
Ain't it beautiful? The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
As a Triangle Rewards member, get even more value during Canadian Tire's biggest tire sale of the year. Save up to 25% off. And from October 19th to 21st, get 20 times Canadian Tire money on select tire purchases. Conditions apply. Details online.
At the end of the day, I don't just feel like I worked hard. I can see my hard work with my own eyes. At the end of the day, I come home to my own place. At the end of the day, I know I'm making a difference in my community. At the end of the day, I grab a bite with my coworkers, or as I like to call them, my friends. At the end of the day, I wouldn't trade a career in the trades for anything.
Get more with a career in the trades. Explore careers at alberta.ca/trades. A message from the Government of Alberta.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sean Brown, Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Hope you're having an awesome Monday. Doubleheader in NFL. Only one game in the National Hockey League tonight, and if you want to watch it, you have to have Amazon. It's the Monday Nighter on Amazon, because tomorrow all 32 teams will be in action in the NHL. So this is your night to watch something else, maybe a doubleheader in NFL. We'll see. Oilers taking on the Canes. Tomorrow, you'll have McDavid and Draisaitl centering their own lines again, and we'll see if the power play, they spend some time working on it today. That might just be the difference. They're 0 for their last 11. They haven't had a power play goal in their last 4 games. And really not many good chances. Let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick, where saving you more is their goal. All the time, whether it's on TV, furniture, mattresses, appliances, you name it. They got great savings, 40% off mattresses right now and more at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys. Question number 1. In the next 10 games, what will the Oilers' record be? They got the Hurricanes, Penguins, Red Wings, Columbus, Nashville, Calgary, Jersey, Vegas, Vancouver, and the Islanders.
I'm not sure what their record's going to be. I mean, a lot of it will depend on the specialty teams, right? How their PP when their PP gets going and when their PP or PK. Once their specialty teams and some of their star players get going, I mean, they can do some damage. So, I'm going to say they'll at least split the next 10 games.
Well, God, that means they'd still be 2 games under 500 through 16. Not ideal. So I'll say the Oilers go 6-3-1 in their next 10.
All right. Question number 2. We've got the World Series matchup set. Dodgers, Yankees. I've seen some people love it. 2 big fan bases. Other teams would, hate it because it's Dodgers, Yankees. Where do you land when it comes to this World Series matchup?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't love either team, but I guess if I had to pick which team I like or do I despise the least, then I guess I'm cheering for the Dodgers.
Oh, really? I'm going for the Yankees. But I love the matchup. You got a bunch of stars on both sides, but I really like I like that Juan Soto. I love but he doesn't, not that he does it as much as he used to, but just his antics at the plate. I don't think there's anyone that has more confidence in his ability than that guy, and just his gamesmanship. I don't know how more pitchers don't throw the ball at him more.
Question number 3. We got 2 games tonight in the NFL. I usually ask about the Monday nighter. So if you had to throw some money down, anytime touchdown, the spread, the over under, where would you be making your bets tonight?
Go ahead, Gregor.
Well, I don't know what it is for passing touchdowns, but man, the way Tampa Bay's offense has been going, I might double up and go a receiving touchdown for Evans and Godwin, because man, they passed the ball. I think this is going to be honestly, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. Now the Ravens defense is pretty good, but so I'll say Baker Mayfield 2 touchdown passes. Cons. That would be what I would go for.
I don't gamble a lot, and it just seems like now when you watch it, like, what can't you gamble on? There's just so many options. I clicked on that little I clicked on the link there that you sent, and it's overwhelming. And but I'll go anytime touchdown with Derrick Henry and Mike Evans.
I love that you can bet on odd or even, and even has better payday. I don't know why anyone might get on that, but that's one you can take a look at too. PlayAlberta.ca, Game Sense. Make sure you use it, of course. Question number 4 for you guys. As we enter the final week of the CFL season, who would you have as your top 3 when it comes to Grey Cup contenders?
Top 3 Grey Cup contenders. I think you'd have to go with Montreal, defending champs. I'll go Saskatchewan and Toronto.
I will. That's hard to go against Winnipeg, man. They've been there the last 4 years, so I'll still pick with them. Although I do like the Saskatchewan pick a lot, and I'm still going Montreal. So mine's very boring.
Final question for you guys. Today is clean up your virtual desktop day. So when it comes to your phone, home computer, are you guys the type to keep it very categorized and clean, or is it an absolute mess?
I think I proved that about 10 minutes ago when I was looking for a contact, and I showed Brett or I showed Gregor my phone. I had a contact in there with a bunch of different numbers, not one of them remotely close. So that sums me up pretty much right there. I don't. I'm very lucky. I got a wife that's very organized and keeps me pretty dialed in. I'm not gonna lie. My phone's a mess.
I don't like having too many icons on my desktop. On my phone, I try to minimize. I don't use a lot of stuff. My Fitbit died. I was very disappointed, and so I got an Apple iPhone, but I just turn off most. I hate any more connection. And once, you can connect your phone. I watch.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to track my steps. I want to track workouts, and I want to know the time. That's it. I don't want to get emails on my wrist. I don't want to get texts. I don't want it. So I had to get rid of all of that. So it took me a while to go through. I go through everyone, disengage, notifications off, all that's crap. And there's still one, the maps one I can't, even though I have it slipped off, it still does it. So I hate it. But I try to empty my email, like my email box and send. Like I go in and I clean it out all the time. And sometimes it's probably not great because you try to go find one in the back, but I don't like having too much of it. It just bugs me. Like if you read the studies on clutter, they say clutter causes way more stress for people. And if you declutter, you lower your stress levels. So luckily my wife's not like, we're not pack rats. Like we're minimizers. So we get rid of stuff. Like we probably got rid of too much baby stuff looking back on it now the first year, but then we're like, hey, we got to keep something. So now I have like a big bin, but it's all organized. It's in the basement and away you go. So to me, less is more all the time. So I can't handle having wait. Like if you got to, I see people's phones where they have like, unread text messages and unread emails, and they got like I'm like, how do you live that way? I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like you open your phone every time and it's just screaming at you of all this stuff you haven't done. Ugh, no chance.
Yeah. But I also agree that, I got the iPhone, the iWatch, you have all this technology, right? And I don't use a smidgen of what it's actually
because you don't need it.
Because it's too much. But you wind up buying it anyway. The one thing I do like with my watch is like when I'm running practice at different times, depending on the practice or what I'm doing, it is nice now to play music. Right. And I can control it from, anywhere on the ice, basically. So that's kind of,
so you put your speaker
with the Bluetooth, right? So I just have my phone close to the,
and you bring it out for practice.
Yeah. And so I just
to pump them up.
Yeah. And so depending on the drill, I mean, if you're obviously in teaching drills, you can't do that, but there's always, depending on the group, if you're, just doing a flow drill or some type of warm up drill, it's just, or some type of a game kind of creates a little bit of a buzz either at the beginning or you can do it at the end. But yeah, there's all this technology and it's just, it's all it does for me is add stress.
All right. Oh, 100%. People that I don't know how you can open up your phone and look at that 150 message thing. And
do you delete your messages? Like just your text messages and stuff?
Yes.
You do? See, I don't, because I feel like I have code words in there that I have so many numbers of people in there.
Sometimes I do.
And I try to think back of a conversation that I've had or a word I've said, and I'll just type it in there hoping that conversation will pop up.
Yeah, they're
not ideal.
Some I do, some I haven't. Like I've kept a few more now where you're like, okay, and I'll just keep that in there because it has a number or said something I want to talk about. But I do like minimizing because I hate having to always search through the phone to find something. I don't know, it just bugs me. So I will say that retirement will be the thing I look forward to most because I can get rid of lots of that stuff. Because now so much of it's work related for me, which is fine.
Yeah.
But when you have too much work stuff on your phone, you never feel like you get away.
The one thing that stresses me out that I see you doing, that you do a great job at doing it, but you're always, you with Twitter, you're up to date. You're very aware of what's going on. That's got to create a little bit of stress, no?
No, I like reading though. So I like knowing what's going on. That doesn't bother me.
Really?
That's like research to me, right?
But just always having an opinion or being on top of it, interacting. You do a good job of interacting with your...
Well, I think it's important to interact with people at times, good and bad, right? Even the the inane comments, sometimes you have to comment on them. But I think it's good if your audience takes the time to interact with you. I think you have to interact back with them. It's like our text line, same thing. So like commercial breaks, I'll fire off a few responses every day just to people because if they take the time to interact and listen to us, I think I owe them the same.
Yeah.
You can't do it all. We get a lot of texts.
Is your ringer always on?
Oh God, no, my ringer's never on, which irritates my wife to no end. Yeah. But because I'm like, no, I don't have my ringer on. Yeah. Like I have it on vibrate.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Connor?
No, I don't like to have my ringer on.
Yeah. There's nothing more stressful when it's always going off and you feel like you have to be available.
Do you guys have that friend that like might own a business that always has their phone going off? I won't name names, but I have a buddy who owns a concrete company, and when you go out with him, it's every 2 or 3 minutes something's going on.
So he doesn't turn the beeping noise off?
No.
Well, why don't you tell him to shut it off?
He's got business to handle.
I don't care. Put it on vibrate. That's not your business. It's his business.
It doesn't bother me.
Oh, it does bother you because you just brought it up.
No, I'm just pointing out that he's always on his phone because he's busy. It's not a bother. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I just couldn't be someone who has to answer my phone every 5 minutes.
Big deal.
But no,
Does he have people that work for him?
Yeah.
Are they competent? That's what I'd always
plead
be.
the fifth.
Yeah, I'd always be that. Like, because if you mean you can never get away from your phone, that's a problem. Because I do think some of us have wired ourselves into thinking we're so important that everything has to be instantaneous.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't.
It drives my mom crazy. She'll call or text me and be like, "Where are you?" Like, Mom, I just didn't have my phone with me. I flip it over so I can't see it.
People get mad at you, and I'm like, it's not my responsibility to respond to your whim.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not. And so I do turn my phone on at night. I turn my ringer on, but I turn my text message notification off.
Yeah.
So then I don't have to know it's there. And I just tell people, if it's an emergency, call me.
Yeah.
Because then I'll know it's important. Because some people nowadays, I don't know when but now they're like, oh, I don't like talking on the phone. What?
That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Too. The tech
Like
thing. It's like, I got
and then they want to have like an hour text and forth. Like, shoot me. I have a max. I can't do it.
You have a max?
Oh,
How many
God.
texts?
I'm like, call me. Yeah. Come on. It's the word. Because you can have a phone conversation be done in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Over all the time texting back and forth. And then the person texts you now, they're like, oh my God, what happened? We're having a conversation. But now I'm like, yeah, the other person's doing something. The worst. So I have a goal. I've minimized my phone usage. So I'm on my phone less now. I try to be on less than 2 hours a day.
Really?
Combined time.
Yeah. So why? Just
because I don't think it's good for me. Plus, I like do other stuff. Because I can waste time on a phone, like scrolling. How many people out there can just next thing you know, you've been a half an hour, and I'm like, did you learn anything? No, I just watched some stupid videos for half an hour straight. Yeah, I get it. So
there are some pretty funny things though on the internet.
Oh, there's some, I'm sure.
That was me last night. My wife just came back with my daughter. They were out checking out of school, so she was wiped. She was in bed by 8 o'clock, and I was like, she's like, let's go to bed. I was like, man, that's too early, but I'll go to bed with you and lie there and watch TV. And then the TV was bothering her, so she's like, let's just shut everything off. So I'm scrolling till 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. I'm just, like
your eyes are just wired.
Stupid thing leads to another.
You're watching cat videos. Every second, one brownie's crying too. That's what awesome. And let's be real, he was watching all of his fight tapes. Hey, I did pretty good in this one.
They wouldn't take that. It wouldn't take that long.
Brownie, do the Oilers win tomorrow? Or more importantly, do they score a power play goal?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? I think their power play second unit gets a goal.
Ooh, all right. Have yourself a good week. We'll chat with you on Monday.
Okay, guys.
There you go. That's Sean Brown joins us every Monday here in Sports 1440. Let's get to the comment. Sports 1440 update brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. And the Canada-wide clearance is on right now at GMC. You can get a $7,500 cash credit on a 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Yeah, the Oilers have signed 2024 first-round pick Sam O'Reilly to a 3-year entry-level contract in 7 games so far. With the London Knights, the 18-year-old has 2 goals, 3 assists, and 6 PIMs. San Jose Sharks forward Malcolm Celebrini considered to be out week to week with a lower body injury. That comes from GM Mike Greer. Greer added the team will give another update on Celebrini's injury after 2 weeks. On the ice tonight, just 1 game. Maple Leafs hosting the Lightning. That gets going in about 30 minutes. Time from the NFL. We got 2 games tonight to wrap up Week 7. Ravens in Tampa taking on the Buccaneers. That'll start at 6:15. Then at 7 o'clock, the Chargers in Glendale taking on the Cardinals. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will return to practice this week after missing the past 4 games with a concussion. And from the NBA, Orlando Magic guard Jalen Suggs agreeing to a 5-year, $150.5 million rookie contract extension with the franchise. At age 22, Suggs had a breakout season, becoming just the 3rd Magic player to make an NBA All-Defensive team, joining Dwight Howard and Horace Grant. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. and Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon. Made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
You've probably heard the term supply and demand. Something is needed and someone supplies it. We're GS Construction, and we're in the supply and demand business with you. Edmonton and the surrounding area continue to grow. Infrastructure has to be continually replaced and upgraded to keep up with demand. You see it with new buildings and new roads, but what about below ground, where all sorts of pipes bring you water and take wastewater away? That's where we come in. For more on what we do, go to gsconstruction.ca.
For 5 days only, the President's Sale is on at the Brick. We've got the best offers of the season, like up to 50% off mattresses, up to $800 off sectionals, and up to 65% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Also, when you buy more, you save more, up to an additional $1,000 when you buy 2 or more select major kitchen appliances. Plus, prepare for the holidays with our price protection guarantee. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Well, come on, baby, take a ride with me for great food and lasting memories. For good old-fashioned burgers and shakes, Jack's Drive-In's got what it takes. When it comes to family, friends, and fun, it's your place, and there's only one. Jack's Drive-In is the place to be for great food and lasting memories. Jack's Drive-In, Spruce Grove.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and we have hundreds of RVs to show you. Now, fall is not the traditional time to buy an RV, but here's a pro tip. Every used RV is a one-of-a-kind, and one of them is perfect for you. But you never know when you're going to find it.
Especially if you have a lot of must-haves and deal breakers on your wish list.
That's right, Bob. Used RV buyers are picky, looking for just the right one. I'm not saying the RVs on our lot now are any better than the ones we'll have in the spring. They're not. But they are different. The ones on our lot today will be gone by spring.
Be a shame if the perfect one got away.
That's what I'm getting at, Bob. If you find one you like, put a ring on it. No Bull makes it ridiculously easy because we'll pay for winterization, storage, and get it all ready for you next year. All you need to do is show up in the spring and it'll be ready for your first adventure. Couldn't be easier.
And that's No Bull.
No Bull RV.
Welcome back. Lovely Monday afternoon. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And if you do gamble, use your Game Sense. Go to gamesense.ab.ca and learn more. It's a light night in the NHL. Only one game. There's actually more in the NFL. Tuesday, 2 games on Monday Night Football, 1 game in the NHL. And if you want to watch it, you have to have Prime. Amazon Prime. That is to check it out tonight. Tomorrow, though, you will have an overload of hockey. The maximum 16 games, all 32 teams in action, including the Oilers, hosting the Carolina Hurricanes, and then Sidney Crosby, who are in the Penguins, who are in Calgary tonight. They'll be in Edmonton on Friday. So both teams will be well rested. They both play Tuesday, Friday this week. Friday, of course, is also Hall of Fame night for Craig McTavish and Randy Gregg. And remember, this year, they're doing the ceremony post-game because I found out there's actually a time limit and you can't be late. If you're late, you can actually get fined significantly. So they thought they didn't want to rush. So they're going to do it afterwards. So the game will end. They'll quickly announce the 3 stars. Then they'll start rolling out the red carpet. Yeah, that's probably going to take about 7 or 8 minutes. So if you're going to the game, just plan that. You'll have time if you want to wheel up to the washroom or what have you. Now, I don't know if that means they'll keep the concessions open later. Maybe they will. Probably smart, but we'll see. Either way, it'll be a post-game for the induction ceremony for Craig McTavish and Randy Gregg. It's time now for the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. And hey, GS, they're hiring right now. You've got pipe layers, pipe layer helpers, top women, top men, lead hands, operators for mainliner, backfill, and more. Go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction as Mark Spector joins us. Spec, how you doing, my man?
Doing awesome, man. It's a beautiful Monday afternoon. Winter's showing up. Get a little cold out there. Time for a toque, Gregor. Get that toque out.
Buddy, I wore it today, man. I wore it today. You notice it quickly when you're follicleless. It definitely, you know it for sure. So it's all good, but or hairless. I still have follicles, I guess, just hairless. But
everybody.
Right now I got about as much hair as the power play success of the Oilers. Spec. It's not good. Now I get it. They're old for their last 11, over the last 4 games. I sense that, he might not change the first unit up right away by any stretch. I can see why you'd give them time to work it out. But do you think there's a chance, like even something as simple as starting the second unit once? Is that even an option?
I don't think it'll happen. If that's what it's always an option. Do I think it'll happen? Unless McDavid's line has been out for a 50-second shift and drew the penalty. No, I don't think it'll happen. I think the priority here is to get it. They're not changing up the first unit. After the Dallas game, Chris Knobloch said, okay, it's time to start looking at this thing. We got to make some changes. It came out this morning and he had a completely different tone. I had a long talk with Glenn Gulletson this afternoon, and I got to call him up on sportsnet.ca right now. And he talked about how they've started slow the last 2 years. And the numbers are the same. They're about 14th or 15th in the NHL in chances, on chances in the power play, expected goals and things like that. And the last 2 years, they came out of it. So Gully fully expects them to get out, and they won't get out by sitting on the bench, Jay.
No, that's true. I don't discount that. But, hey, even competition's fire. It's fuel, right? You sit out Draisaitl for 2 shifts, came back and scored a goal and had an assist. Like I'm not saying you sit them and never play them, but to start a power play, your second unit every now and then is not the end of the world. Because there's times we see the McDavid line on for a minute and they still start the power play.
No. Listen, I've always said, and I've been the voice in the wilderness for years here, this team had fallen into a trap where it became all about the big guys and everyone else sat around and watched. And this is a bit of a microcosm of that. Why can't you got enough guys to make a pretty decent second unit? Why do we always rely on a $130 from the first unit guys? Let the other guys get out and try to solve the problem once in a while. So I agree with you on that point, Jay. I was a guy who predicted before the season started that with Skinner and Arvidsson coming in, there would be a lot more use of the second unit. And I've been dead wrong. Like I was not right on that. I think there should be. But to be honest, I think the second unit's going to play more once the first unit finds its footing. Until it does, they're going to force feed ice time at that first unit till it finds its way.
All right. No surprise, McDavid and Draisaitl are back on their own lines. We did see Brown, Ryan, and Henrique skate, and then Janmark centering pairing Pod Coles. And I can't see Janmark playing center, right? We saw one practice day where Jeff Skinner was on a different line, and then the next day he was back on Draisaitl's line. Is that what we saw with the bottom 6 today?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from or what the point in it is. The bottom 6 has been pretty good.
I agree.
Eric Ryan's been pretty good this year. I don't know why we're moving him out of that spot next to Perry. So I have a feeling that's just a off day practice deal. I got to see it on a game day skate before I'm going to believe it, man.
Yeah. I don't know. You talked to Gulletson about the power play, and the power play does feed in at times to 5-on-5 because you look at outside of Jeff Skinner, none of their top 6 forwards have been a consistent threat offensively yet this season.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're right. I think it's, I think what happens here is those guys get, especially if they get a first period power play goal, they take some mojo from the power play and they bring it back to regular strength. They get feeling good about themselves. They get their touches on the power play often, right? And when that works, it bleeds into your 5-on-5 play in a really positive way. And the opposite can be true. I asked, was it Bouchard about that this morning? And he basically said, yeah, we got to, our power play is doing the opposite of creating momentum. We all know this. It's an old hockey cliche, but it is true. A power play could create momentum without scoring even. Have a good play, pin them, toss it around, get some chances, soften up the other team. This power play is not doing that. Somehow this year, Leon Draisaitl's passes have been hitting skates at a far more alarming rate. I mean, skates of the opposition. They're not getting to their intended guy the way we're used to seeing. Nugent Hopkins, I just saw something where his underlying numbers aren't any good. I haven't looked him up, and I don't need to. His game hasn't been any good this year. McDavid's been okay and no better than okay. We've all watched Bouchard struggle this year. So, there's 4 of the 5 guys on your power play right there. So, listen, Jay, your best guys, right? Your best guys got to be your best guys. Edmonton's best guys haven't been great this year, and look at their record.
Yeah. It's not, to me, it's not a shock, right? And the funny thing is, there was lots of questions and valid questions that the defense was going to struggle. And their last 3 games defensively, that game against Nashville and the first 40 minutes against Dallas, I'm not sure you can play much better defensively. But they scored in Nashville, and that's why they won. They couldn't score any goals in Dallas, and then Dallas eventually woke up in the third period. And that goal, hey, Skinner's got to make a save. We can all agree with that. But your forward, just like Skinner's got to make a save, your forward's got to score a goal.
Yeah, for sure, man, absolutely. That game should have been 2-0 at the end of 2 periods. Or with a minute to go when they got on that last power play, the Stars. So yeah, I agree. I think that the offense, or the lack thereof, has put a ton of pressure on a defensive core that's still trying to figure it out here, and goaltending that hasn't started strong, right? It hasn't started strong this year. Generally, when you're the Edmonton Oilers, every third game, we don't leave the rink talking about defense and goaltending because they put up 5. Well, they're not putting up 5 here, ever, almost. So that's why all of a sudden we're talking about Skinner in a game where the Oilers don't score a single goal till what was left when Draisaitl scored?
3 minutes.
3:25 or something. So, and we leave the rink talking about goaltending? Really? That's what we're talking about? We've got
no chance.
Offense, and we're talking about a goaltender? I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, 4 losses, they've scored 4 goals.
Yeah.
You're averaging 1 goal. So basically you're saying our goalie's got to be perfect for us to win a game. And that's it's not realistic at all. So, Mark Spector joins us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. And Carolina comes to town. We had Eric Tulsky on the show today. Very insightful interview with the general manager, and, talking about goaltending and just his example was great. He goes, you're looking for a guy who can stop 91 out of 100 shots, or a guy who stops 90 out of 100 shots. It ain't much of a difference, but the difference over time feels significant. And it's hard because there's so many random things that are involved that you can't really do. And so, we do have Kevin Woodley coming up here, and, we're going to talk about Skinner and something that he calls fingers up for his glove. And it's a position that he uses. Not all goalies use it. So Woodley's going to explain it way better than I can. But I remember him talking about it last year. And so I texted him when that goal went in, because it went under the glove. I'm like, does that have to do with that? And so he'll have a better explanation. But you look at just around the league spec and goaltending, and since 2019, no goalie has signed a contract for more than $8.5 million. Because that was Vasilevsky. That's over 5 years ago. And since then, in last year, October, Hellebuck signed for 8.5, and then Swayman 8.25, Allmark 8.25, Ottinger 8.25, Saros a little bit less. And now we hear Shesterkin, wants 11. Well, the market doesn't bear that. There's nothing to say he's 11. Is he a really good goalie? 100%. But he's not 30% better than the other guys.
Okay,
what do you think the Rangers do?
I'm going to play Shesterkin's agent here, okay? I'm going to say, first of all, what was the percentage of the cap when Vasilevsky signed for 8.5? I don't know the answer to this, but it was fairly high because it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, 9.5. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to say, I think Shesterkin's the best player in the New York Rangers and the most valuable one. What's the best player on all the other teams make? Right? Why? Who cares if my guy's a goalie? Why isn't my guy make Draisaitl's the second best player on the Oilers? Why aren't I making Draisaitl money?
Oh, because you don't play 82 games. You only play 75%. So maybe you should make 75% of what he makes.
That's what you would counter with. But I'm here to tell you, if I'm Shesterkin's agent and I am the absolute key to success in New York, I'm their best player. I'm the guy that's going to win a cup for them if they win a cup. When the games are important, Jason, I'm going to play every single one of them in the playoff run. I guess my point is this. Why do we use goalies as a comparison for goalies? And we don't use, do we use, centers as a comparison for centers? I guess we do. I don't know.
Of course we do. You don't compare. Yeah. But the best player on his team, that's irrelevant to the conversation. If you look at the market of goaltenders across the league, everyone, their minutes played have gone down, right? The last few years, you hardly see way fewer, like there's no one starting 70 games anymore. Never mind barely 65. Even Hellebuck's gone down from 66 to 60 recently, right? And Hellebuck, so I look at it this way, Spec, is Hellebuck the best player in Winnipeg? Probably could make the argument he is. He's making 8.5.
Right. I just think goalies are, frankly, we always talk about how nothing works. You can't win if you don't have a good goalie. And then we say the best goalie in the world can only make 8.5 when there's all kinds of guys making 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10 that are skaters that aren't anywhere near as important to their team as Shesterkin is to New York Rangers, as Hellebuck is to Winnipeg. That's all.
Yeah. Spec, have a good one. Quickly, give me your either way. If I'm the Rangers, though, I can make a lot of arguments that there's every other goalie is being paid less, but our guy he's not 30% better than Sorokin or all these other really good goalies. That's my argument for them. And so I'm curious if they do it, if they think they'll be successful from it. And it's fun. Now there are some teams that would have the cap space to do it, but there's not many. Not the only arguing contending team I would say who at this summer could, coming up this summer, who could pay him would be Toronto, because John Tavares, $11 million comes off the books, and Mitch Marner, same thing. Now you could re-sign Marner for $11 million, same basically money, and then give Shesterkin Tavares' money, and that would probably make him a way better team.
Oh my God, I would take Shesterkin over Tavares or Shesterkin over Marner every day of every week. And by the way, who's the most highest paid goalie in hockey? Bobrovsky at $10 million?
Yes.
Yeah, and there you go. You know what? He probably earned that $10 million last year, I'd say to you.
Yeah, but remember for 3 years ago, people said it was the worst contract in hockey. That position is very volatile and it changes quickly.
When he wasn't playing well, it was. I don't hear anyone complaining about it anymore.
Yeah, it's true. Spec, have a good one. We'll chat with you tomorrow.
All right, Jay.
There you go. It's Mark Spector in the Spec part. When we come back, we'll talk goalies with Kevin Woodley. We're going to talk about the Duchesne goal on Skinner. What happened there? Also, Woodley's pretty adamant. Didn't like the Michkov goal. We'll get to that and more. And a few teams who's maybe have bigger goaltending issues than you think. We'll discuss it next with Woodley on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. If you got any goalie questions, text them in 833-401-1440 in our inbox.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit PlayAlberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Get ready to revolutionize your job site with Edmonton Kubota's game-changing compact construction equipment. From mini excavators and skid steers to track loaders, carriers, and utility vehicles, they have a model to fit every need, all powered by legendary Kubota diesel engines. These machines are built for performance and reliability. Transform your work with Edmonton Kubota's top-of-the-line compact equipment. Visit them today and see why they're the name you can trust for power and precision.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility. Available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine. You can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
As a Triangle Rewards member, get even more value during Canadian Tire's biggest tire sale of the year. Save up to 25% off. And from October 19th to 21st, get 20 times Canadian Tire money on select tire purchases. Conditions apply. Details online.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I want to talk to you about your roof. Actually, I'm talking about the roof on your house. If your roof were to spring a leak, how soon would you want to fix it?
Pretty much the instant you discover it, Rick.
That's right, Bob. The damage it can do to your home is measured in minutes, not weeks. But if you have a leak in your RV while it's stored away for the winter, this can lead to catastrophic problems because you wouldn't even know what's happened until spring with months of damage already done.
Manufacturers recommend a roof assessment at least every year.
Right again, Bob. That's why Noble RV offers free roof assessments every fall. We'll climb up there and check the condition of your RV's roof and give you a detailed report in writing. That way, you'll know if your RV is ready for another harsh northern Alberta winter. It's a free service we provide, and it could save you thousands in repair costs down the road.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
Welcome back. Monday afternoon. Gregor, Halley, hope you're having an awesome day. As it's time to talk a little hockey with Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine and NHL.com as we go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. Stop in. McDonald's favorite game Monopoly is here. Get yours today, only at McDonald's. Kev, how you doing, my man?
Good, Jason. Yourself?
Ooh, pretty good. Pretty good. So let's start with the orders and the Matt Duchene goal. Obviously one that I think that's one where you'd say, hey, you'd like your goalie to make that save. And you know that now I think we'd probably agree that's a save he could make for sure. But I remember last year you talked about he uses, I think it's called fingers up in his glove, which I'm assuming means he holds his glove a little higher. Is that what it means? Instead of this way, right? He has his fingers up rather than sideways. Does that play a factor in that goal in your eyes?
Yeah. So like fingers up, basically, you're right. The other way would be like if you're the normal one would be sort of just like almost you're reaching out to somebody to shake a hand, right? Sort of just straight out, horizontal. Okay. Fingers up is just sort of the fingers point straight to the sky. Like you're reaching out as a first baseman to catch a ball thrown right at your head, right? Sort of hand goes up and the pocket's right out in front of you. I don't know that it's necessarily a fault of fingers up as a style so much, because what it's designed to do is take away visually and give you easier access to the top corner, which is where we saw so many goals being scored for so many years. But for sure, opposing forwards are going to school on it. And so most pre-scout reports will now talk about where to shoot on a goalie relative to how he holds his glove. So if he had it in more of a handshake position, that pre-scout's going to say rip it top shelf. But because he's got it in that fingers up, guys are looking for that shot just over the pads or underneath the glove. Okay. And I think in that, I sent you some notes on what that type of chance is. It's still a slot shot because it's just in the edge above the top of the circles, but it's a clear-sighted one with time and space. In other words, chance for a shooter to look up and pick his spot, essentially, which is what Duchesne does. And I'm with you. Mitch Korn always used to classify goals as ones that you should have had, ones that you could have had, and ones you had no chance at. And that was certainly one that's a could have bordering on should have. It's a 9.5% chance. But interesting enough, this year, so far this season, it's almost 17% guys are scoring on it. And I think a little bit of that is, the way things are edging towards the shooters because of them going to work on things like putting their head up and looking and recognizing that, hey, this goalie does it this way. I better not do what I always do, which is just try and rip it high glove. Low might be a better option here. And so that's the one thing that comes with being in playoffs, Jason, is that is where the pre-scout really gets dug into. And so with their meeting last year, I think that would be top of mind for the Dallas Stars and, probably something they took advantage of there.
Okay. Do you see anything like Edmonton's defensive game, after a slow start, the last three is really good. And I thought Skinner's game against Philadelphia was fine. The Michkov goal, now you watch it because funny enough, it had to do with the Tampa Bay and Esimont goal that wasn't allowed. But then the Michkov goal was allowed. I saw the explanation, the puck was still loose. But what determines a loose puck? Because the puck was still loose for Esimont. It was still in the crease. The goalie didn't have his pad on it. He had his pad down, but his pad wasn't on the puck. So what do you see as the difference?
So, and this is, I think, where the interpretation is, although obviously you can't speak for them. And I'll disagree with it, but of course I'm going to because I'm the goalie union guy, right? In both cases, the forward moves the goalie's equipment out of the way. Right. The difference to me in the Skinner one is it moves the pad out of the way, which creates a hole that Michkov takes advantage of.
Right.
And in the one that was called back against Artur Shilovs and Eismont there, he actually pushes the puck over the goal line by pushing the pad into the net, which is how the rule is written. So in other words, I still think they're both goalie interference, but one is pushing the puck and the goalie into the net, which is specifically in the rules. And the other one is interpretation of goaltender interference, right? They shouldn't be, but I think that's where the line and the distinction gets made. If he had pushed that puck and Skinner's pad into the net, it's clearly no goal. But because he just moves it out of the way, creates a hole that he then exploits, he gets the benefit of the doubt on the review. And like I said, to me, that's still goalie interference. You're still pushing the pad out of the way. It's just to create the hole you score into versus pushing the puck over the goal line. You're getting into a pretty big gray area there, but I'm always going to side on the goalie union and say if one didn't count, the other one shouldn't.
So now let's go around the league. Jake Ottinger, everybody's signing for $8.25 million, it seems right now. Ottinger matches Swayman, who matches Allmark, and they match Sorokin. So away we go. What do you make of this deal? It seems like a no-brainer for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, it is because that's the standard. And I guess the question becomes, do you see Jake Ottinger playing to that standard, for the next 8 years? And certainly at the start of this season, you saw it firsthand there as Oilers fans in that game. He is on an absolute heater to start the season. As a matter of fact, nobody has a better adjusted save percentage in the entire National Hockey League right now going into tonight's play than Jake Ottinger. So this is what you're paying for, that level of goaltending. The only sort of hesitation, and I don't think I would have had it because I liked where he got with his game by the end of last season. I liked the conversations I had with him about how he got there and thought there was something that he could sort of move forward with. But the reality is the 2 years prior, last year, he was an NHL average goalie statistically. And the year prior to that, he wasn't, he was above expected, but not by the margins that some of these other guys that are getting 8.25 have been. And so that's 2 years where you're getting closer to league average goaltending. And if you're paying 8.25 and you end up with league average goaltending for 8 years, I'd suggest you're going to regret it. lot of it has been systems based. Like they have really good structure in Dallas for the last couple of years, very goalie friendly environment. He's put up really good raw numbers as a result. We saw earlier in his career what he's capable of. The physical skills. I've gotten a glimpse into the mindset and the approach. Like everything about him screams he will be elite, but there is that little grain of salt that for 2 years he really wasn't. And now you're paying him to be that guy for the next 8. Like I said, so far this year, he looks like that guy. He's playing like that guy. But being able to stay, maybe not at this level, because nobody stays on a heater forever. This would be historically great Vezina caliber play. That's how he's going right now. But even to get into that range of, plus 1% to 2% adjusted save percentage year over year, like Swayman has been since he entered the NHL, like Demko has been when he's healthy, that group, Shesterkin, Sorokin, even in their down years, they still hover around 1% and not down around league average. And that would be the one little, cautionary tale grain of salt. But obviously the Stars know him better than anyone. Like I said, I have trouble arguing against that one. He's a guy I'd invest in too, but the numbers give me pause.
Okay. Now, looking at a few other things, Lankinen, I'll give you props, Kev. You banged on 2 years ago. You had Lindgren, boom. Last year, you had Connor Ingram, boom. You had Lankinen as your breakout guy, and he's come in and he's been great for Vancouver. I think he's kind of taken over the starting job from Shelov's for the time being, and we have no idea when Demko's coming back. So my question is, was Lankinen asking for too much? But if it was only $2 million and he's that good, why did so many teams miss on him?
Well, he's top 5 in adjusted save percentage right now. So we just talked about Jake Ottinger starting the season on a heater. This is not what to expect from Kevin Lankinen. But he was top 12 last year, right? So he's on a heater right now. Good might not look this good for the season, but I do believe there's more upside than clearly the rest of the league did. And I can't answer that question, Jason, because I look at it and I look at a guy that was ready to pop. And you're right. He was making $2 million. Lindgren's an easy one. They got him 3 years at 1.3. And so the ask in free agency was what he was making the year before, which was already $2 million. And GM's just set that line like, hey, we're only going to pay a couple of guys, Stollers and Laurent Brossoit, who, by the way, hasn't played a game yet this year. We're going to pay those guys because they're in another tier as 1Bs, and everybody else has got to settle for $1 million. And ultimately, Lankinen ends up doing it. But if this continues, and I expect him to be good, because the numbers say he's been good for the last 2 years, and he can manage it in a heavier workload. And boy, oh boy, how are you one of the guys that didn't? Mm-hmm. How did you look, with whether you're a team that doubled down on something you had before because it was good enough and you knew him and he was good in the room and it only cost so much? This guy is better than 2/3 of the league's backups right now. And he's better than some starters in the league. And yet he gets all the way to September without a contract because he wants $2 million out of the gates.
Yeah.
And I get where you draw the line in the sand, but there's enough tells in the statistics if you have access to them. Maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe not enough teams are investing in analytics that show them a complete picture of what goaltending looks like. But I wasn't going out on a limb with this. The numbers said he's ready to pop. In a good defensive environment, he's doing just that. And the Canucks, much like the Oilers, after a slow start defensively, they're not as good as the Oilers have been in their last 3-4 games. The Oilers have given up 4, 3, 3, and 3 high danger chances in their last 4 games. That's incredible. The Canucks aren't there defensively, but they have gotten better. And sometimes that goes hand in hand. You know it, right? You get the confidence playing in front of a good goaltender, and you're trying to tighten your systems out. They can bleed into each other a little bit. At the end of the day, let's see where he comes out at the end of the season. This will be probably the most games he's played over the next 2 months until, whether Demko's back in November or December. If he can keep this up, then I've got to ask the question, why aren't more people looking at the numbers that make this a fairly easy prediction when I do look at them?
Yeah, no, and I think that's totally fair. So now, but you talk to a lot of guys in the goalie world. What do they say?
Well, this is an interesting one because I think a lot of teams looked at him and said, well, hey, if he's so good, why is he not playing more? And I think the answer was UC Saros and the contract he had. But last year on a per shot basis, Lankinen was better.
Yep.
So why didn't he get more starts? And, I do think part of it is being stuck behind a guy like Saros, who was supposed to carry the mail there and is viewed in that elite category and off to another tough start this year, I should add. It's like it might be that there's nothing he does spectacularly. Like he's just a really, really steady goaltender. I think he holds his edges really well. And I think some of the things he does in terms of patience and quickness translate well in a game that has become increasingly East-West. He's listed at 6'2", but he doesn't play huge. So, I mean, it's like any goaltender. You can find nits to pick, but at the end of the day, whether it's him or Ingram or Charlie Lindgren, it's as much about because Connor Ingram, for example, I mean, he doesn't play a necessarily aesthetic, pretty game.
No.
And yet there were numbers that indicated it was having success at the NHL level. Maybe it won't last. We're already seeing a dip this year. Maybe teams will get a book and they'll start to exploit some things. But it's not like he was asking, in Lankinen's case, for a long-term commitment at big money, right? In the short term, there were signs this was coming. And I'm just shocked that nobody had signed him to September to try and take advantage of it.
Kevin Woodley from InGoal Magazine and NHL.com. Give me your thoughts on Carolina coming in tomorrow. What should Oilers expect from them and Oilers fans for their goaltending?
Well, you probably get a break if they rest Freddie Anderson on the first game of the trip. Freddie's been phenomenal. Again, we talk about adjusted save percentage, tiny sample for both guys, but you've got one goalie who's close to plus 3% and the other one in Kochetkov that's minus 2.5 behind similar environments. So, it's kind of one of those ones that reminds me of when the Flyers came to town. Sam Ersson, really solid goaltender. Fedotov, as we've seen, if you happen to get him like Seattle did, like Calgary did, he's struggling to adjust to the NHL now. So I don't think Kochetkov's in that same category. But the numbers they continue to not be there. There is aesthetics to his game. There is athleticism. There's a lot to like. Like a lot of goalie people look at Kochetkov and be like, ooh, like that's a goalie I'd like to work with. And yet, for whatever reason, look for over-aggression if it is him. Chasing play, poke checks, getting caught outside of his crease. There's still elements of his game that remain a work in progress. And he's young. The tools are all there. He may put it all together. But right now, if you're the Oilers, it's statistically a break if you get him instead of Freddie Anderson.
Okay. Pittsburgh and Tristan Jarry, they got 3 goalies. Now, I know, Kev, when I saw, he's a healthy scratch, I'm like, but Kev's talked about this. If you're going to give a guy a day off, you have 3 goalies and give him the whole day off. So it's like a mental break, right? Because the goalies always tell me, even if I'm the backup, I'm preparing to play. So do you think that's what it was in Pittsburgh, or is there a bigger issue here?
I don't know what it was. I probably should have sent a message to ask, but if it was, I applaud it. Either way, I applaud it. Especially, and I don't know how many guys actually do this and go up and watch a game from the press box. It does look easy for us because everything sort of happens with the ants below and you can see the open ice and at real speed, It's so fast down there and lanes are so hard to pick up, but sometimes it helps. This is one I would say Tristan Jarry and the Pittsburgh Penguins probably have as big a focus on them goaltending wise in the league as probably Edmonton. Right. There's been a lot of negative focus on Skinner and Picard and obviously Colorado with Georgiev. And they've already gone on to waivers and gotten Kakinen. So to me, those are the 3 sort of hot seats around the NHL. And to me, the biggest difference in Pittsburgh, they are not defending. They are the Oilers last year before the coaching change. They are dead last in high danger chances against the rush. They are 31st in high danger chances in zone, and they are dead last defensively everywhere but the PK. That is not a Mike Sullivan team. Statistically, that is not how they play for him or have in the past. I don't know what's changed. I haven't watched them closely enough to see whether it's systems, execution, personnel, where it is, but they are bleeding chances. Now, the first game of the season is going to skew everything because it was one of the worst I've ever seen. We talked about it last week. How Jarry went in for 6, and he actually was a goal and a quarter better than expected. I hadn't seen that many high danger chances in a regular season game in a long time. I think there were 16 or 17 and the expected goals were over 7. So that's going to skew the numbers for a long time. They're going to have to dig out of that sample. But this team is not defending anywhere near well enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is an Erik Karlsson thing. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Teams tend not to defend well when he's on them, Jason. It's just the way it is, right? You get both ends with him. But for whatever is the problem, goaltending hasn't been nearly as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. Like Jarry up until the other night was just barely below expected. Ned got his first start. He's below expected. Joel Blomqvist is still above expected.
Yeah, he's been good.
It's a really tough environment. And for a group that had such focus on its goaltenders going into the season and so many questions around Jarry, they sure are not doing him any favors with the way they're playing in front of him.
Kev, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate it. Actually, one last one quickly. So Shesterkin, I know he's great, but when I look at no goalie since 2019 has made more than 8.6 mil. That's 5 years, right? Hellebuck, hell of a goalie, 8.5. All these guys, Sorokin, etc., all 8.25. Shesterkin's talking about getting 11. I can make the argument, but I can make the argument, is he 30% better than Sorokin and Hellebuck and Swayman and Ottinger and all these guys? What do you think the Rangers do? And would you pay Shesterkin that much money based on the market? Not based on how good we think he is, just based on the market over the last 5 years.
If I was going to, it would be at the expense of term. So you've heard me say this at the expense of my goalie union card, and there they come to take it away at the door. But if I'm a GM, I avoid term. And so if it's going to be that high, because there's so much volatility. Now, he's been, for the most part,
pretty
free of that volatility. Even his down years are still good and way better than most. But he's only had that 1 year at that incredible high level. And that's sort of what you're asking him to be paid like. And so their argument is he's the best player on the team. He deserves to be paid the best. You could make the argument he's the best goalie in the league. Does he deserve Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky? And the counter argument to your point is nobody in the last little while has gotten this. I think there are a lot of goalies at that upper echelon that look at Connor Hellebuyck now with 2 Vezinas and say, man, why couldn't you have pushed the bank a little higher? I don't know what I would do if I was the Rangers. But if I'm going to have to spend that much, I might, and this might sound crazy to people, but he's not a young man either. Like, it's not like he's in his 22, 23. I might be hesitant on going 8 years just because of the volatility that surrounds the position. If nothing else, you're not going to get value out of that contract, because I don't think everyone else is going to come up with them for at least 3-4 years into it. So how far do you want to push it down the road? And how confident are you that that explosive dynamic style that he plays will stand up over time?
Wow. Kev, great stuff, man. I appreciate it. Have an awesome day.
You too, Jason. Thanks.
There you go. That's Kevin Woodley from Ingo Magazine and NHL.com. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Quick break. We'll come back, wrap things up. Been a busy Tuesday here on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can always text us 833-401-1440 in our eWell inbox. Your partner in power since 1975. For all your electrical gear, there's only one place to go. EWEL.ca.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like Johnson, the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
For 5 days only, the President's Sale is on at The Brick. We've got the best offers of the season, like up to 50% off mattresses, up to $800 off sectionals, and up to 65% off sofas when you buy the matching love seater chair. Also, when you buy more, you save more, up to an additional $1,000 when you buy 2 or more select major kitchen appliances. Plus, prepare for the holidays with our price protection guarantee. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Hey there. It's your friends from Toyota. We see you eyeing that Tundra, already picturing yourself hauling so much firewood that your chainsaw's hiding behind the shed. It's time to stop dreaming about that new Toyota and start driving one. Lease a 2024 Tundra 4x4 Double Cab SR5 from $146 weekly for 64 months at 4.39% with $6,299 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer today.
At the end of the day, a job well done is something I can see and touch. At the end of the day, I'm proud to see the things I'm building in my community. At the end of the day, I cash my paycheck without worrying about student debt because I never had any. At the end of the day, I wouldn't trade a career in the trades for anything.
Get more with a career in the trades. Explore careers at alberta.ca/trades. A message from the Government of Alberta.
$5:49. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook and X. And coming up on Wednesday, of course, there will be, I know many of you are lining up here at West Edmonton Mall. There'll be the autograph session for the Oilers. And usually last year, there was a few that are set up. Literally, we're down by Bubblegum Shrimp and the Lego store right on the second level. And so we'll be out there. We'll have a table. We'll have some stuff to give away. And also, there's not many of them because we just got a new order in, but we will be selling the new Sports 1440 hats, $25 straight. That's including GST. It's $25. So, but cash only. So bring some cash if you would like to get yourself one of those hats. And Cons will be out there from what, like 2 to 6?
Yeah, I think maybe even a little earlier, potentially noon. Low Tide, I think, is going to pop out for a little bit as well. So if you've got his book and you want an autograph, might get a chance to come see him after his show. We'll be doing giveaways. Yeah, bottled water for the people that come by. So yeah, it'll be very cool to hopefully meet some of the listeners.
All right. Okay. So that'll be going on Wednesday. And then, of course, they do have the autograph signing from 4 until 6 o'clock for those of you who are inclined to want to come down. I can give you some tips on where to go. So we learned that last year watching how people went about and moved around, good or bad, on where to go. So
people get here early.
Oh my goodness,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So they obviously want the autograph pretty bad. So and you're limited though on which ones you can get. So there is a limit on that. So, coming up tonight, doubleheader in Monday Night Football. We got a few texts to end the show with. Hey guys, what's your thoughts on the Oilers? Do you think they'll make a trade to get their offense going? No. If this was depth scoring, and it's funny, like Matt, when the depth guys go 5 games without scoring, people freak out. The Oilers' top guys aren't producing collectively. Arvidsson, Hyman, no points. Has one of, outside of Jeff Skinner, have any of the top 6 guys even had like a full start to finish consistent game? Because if you go back to the Philly game, David and Draisaitl did nothing. Draisaitl got benched. They did nothing until boom, they scored 2. Now it's huge, don't get me wrong. And that's how they're talented enough they can do it. But they haven't had those games where you're just like, oh my goodness, they are dominating. It's like shift after shift. They're in the zone. It's been the bottom 6 who have had multiple consecutive shifts where they're the team. Like the Perry Podkolzin line. It's too bad they couldn't score in that game against Dallas because, man, they had pressure all the time. I thought that was Podkolzin's best game as an order. Hopefully he builds off of it and get a goal. And you get some goal, you get some confidence. It's no different than the Oilers' power play. They got to get going. But right now, the Oilers, why I don't think there's massive outrage in Edmonton is because they're confident they think the top guys will get going. Or it's your favorite players, and some people never want to criticize their favorite player. It doesn't mean they're not good. Right now, they're not playing up to their standard. I think it's fair to say that. If people are like, wow, goal check. No, don't deflect. 4 losses, 4 goals. Okay? You got to be better. Could Skinner made that save on Duchesne? 100%. I'll totally agree with that. But if he makes a save, it's still 0-0. You still got to score a goal. So tomorrow, 32 teams in action. We'll talk all about that. Some Monday Nighters and much, much more. Oilers taking on the Hurricanes tomorrow. On behalf of Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, Sean Brown, I'm Jason Gregor. Have yourselves a wonderful Monday evening. We will chat with you on 2 o'clock tomorrow. Connor Halley, Sports 1440 update brought to you by Well, your partner in power since 1975. It's time to load up the top line and score in the power play with eWell. EWEL.ca, your star supplier for quality electrical gear. Good night.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers have signed 2024 first-round draft pick Sam O'Reilly to a 3-year entry-level contract. 7 games so far with the London Knights. The 18-year-old has 2 goals and 3 helpers with 6 penalty minutes. Not ideal news for the San Jose Sharks as they'll be without forward Matt Celebrini for a couple of weeks with a lower body injury. GM Mike Greer saying he will update us in 2 weeks. On the ice right now, William Nylander's 4th of the season has the Leafs on top of the Lightning 1-0 midway through the first. In the NFL, we got a doubleheader tonight. Ravens-Bucks getting going in about 20 minutes. Then just after 7 o'clock, the Cards hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Off the field, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will return to practice this week after missing the last 4 games with a concussion. And in the association, Orlando Magic guard Jalen Suggs agreeing to a 5-year, $150.5 million rookie contract extension at age 22. Suggs had a breakout season last year, becoming just the 3rd Magic player to make the All-NBA defensive team, joining Dwight Howard and Horace Grant. That'll do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Coming up, we've got Fox Sports Radio all night, and tomorrow morning, we're back with live local coverage with Kevin Carius and Brandon Douglas. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Yes, Sports 1440. A Stingray.